That's a tough call, Parker. I mean, M80 have definitely been off to the races a lot stronger. I feel like their switch was less natural. They had to change the roles around a little bit more. Gunner's taking a bit more of a backseat. He's playing a little bit more support, a little bit more passive with Kino's departure. So that's obviously been a bigger change for them, but I also think that they've found better success. I think time will tell. I think both roster moves have the potential to be quite successful for these two teams. I know that's kind of a nothing burger answer. I'm so sorry, but I truly do feel that both of these teams can find success with their new rosters. I don't know as much if both of these teams can find success on Fortress. I was pretty shocked to see M80 let this one through. Wildcard, when we saw this map debut at the Six Invitational, were undoubtedly the best team, not just in North America, but in the world at this map, beating giants like Furia, like Falcons, like SSG. They were so dominant on this map, and M80, they've never won it ever. So I'm very surprised to see this map coming through. If Wildcard can show up and even be 80% of the team they were at the Six Invitational, I think it's going to be really difficult for M80 to win this first map of the series.
I mean, I agree with what you're saying here, but Wildcard looks like they've taken a much farther step back than a lot of the other mainstays. I think of all of the regions, out of all of the teams in this region, Shopify Rebellion has taken by far and away the largest step back. But they didn't make a roster move, so we often don't include them in this, like, gaggle of teams, right? It's usually Wildcard when we say, well, they made a roster move, and well, they weren't as good as they were before. Wildcard's had to adjust. Spiker is playing on shields. That was Dash's role. And Dash, whether or not his individual stats were poor, they were poor more often than not, it looks like he might have fit the team a little bit better. Now, admittedly, this was a move that Dash seemingly pushed for because he was homesick. So it's not really like Wildcard made this move themselves, and now they're dealing with, you know, the self-inflicted, you know, knife wound to the heart of them and their fans. They made the best of it, picking up Adrian, who just finished second place at SI. So he's obviously a talented player. Spiker adjusting to this position, still calling from this role, and very quickly they are in the building, Jesse. Less than a minute into live action, and they are already tantalizingly close to this bomb site. As ROU projectors go, Ashen drops. Baby Shark is the first one dead. Wildcard cleaning up, but then immediately M80 answers back. To a 2v2 they go. Hot and Cold flushed out of his position by Bay. A stalemate now, a 2v2 with over a minute and a half to go. This is good stuff.
Yeah, this is exciting. I mean, now we're in this 2v2 spot. How do we adapt for Wildcard? The rush didn't get what you were hoping for. It's a nice swing from Gunner, gives them the man advantage, puts the IGL into a 1v2. This is very difficult to win on the Blitz. Spiker will have to go big now. Knows seemingly the last two positions, knows there's players around horse, but can't win the fight. Gunner just too good in the 2v2, steps up big time to lock it down and give the early lead to M80.
I like that entry. I like that they understood the assignment, right? You cut off a potential flank that could deal with that cannon hallway that leads into the bomb site. So what do? You throw the ROU projector down, and you use a second set of smokes to block off top white. There was a rotate in the soft wall there at the bottom of those tower stairs that lead into the bomb site. That was a very critical spot that Hot and Cold was playing. Because of the commotion in the site, he had to stay anchored in his position. He could not go for a flank, and even if he wanted to, the smoke would have stopped him in his tracks. It set up a lot of really isolated engagements that at the beginning favored this Wildcard team, but half of the server got cleared out in the span of 10 seconds or so. So kudos to M80 for responding to this. Great job by Wildcard on their initial assault, especially with the crossfires they established, but M80 was just a little too slippery. And I mean, hey, both of these teams are very good. They make deep runs at LAN events, but only one of these organizations are major champions. So if you won a major and you got your major winning coach and you got 4/5 that major winning roster, they've seen some stuff, and they're probably prepared for it.
No, you're absolutely right, and it's true too that domestically, M80 have been far better than Wildcard throughout the last couple of years. Wildcard have played, I believe, 6 stages of the North America League and have never finished in the top 3, which is ridiculous because they've finished top 3 internationally, just never domestically, which is a pretty rare stat to see. But something about these online games always seem to cause some problems for Wildcard, and we've seen a bit of that throughout the kickoff so far. Again, good kind of 2-0 play for both Gunnar and Gavin to lock things down in that first round. But we'll go to the other top floor site to keep things rolling, Parker. It's going to be dorms for our second site here on Fortress. And Wildcard will kind of take a different approach, knowing that they have to go for a full map clear. They're not going to start it with a rush just like what we've seen from them in round 1. So they start to clear out these roamers. Diffuser, maybe the most aggressive player here, just inside of Museum, hoping to play with Gavin not too far back.
I see Spiker. He's able to do some damage. Spiker also taking damage from the Razor Bloom debuff now as Gunnar dies. Wildcard striking first. Very early action so far through these 2 rounds. Wildcard wanting to push the tempo up a little bit more. It's their map. They are presumably playing on the weaker side since M80 got to choose that starting half. So why not Wildcard set the tempo, set the pace, try to knock M80 off, because if you can get away with 2 really quick rush strats and find yourself a nice 2-0 lead, hey, that's a third of the way through. You've done an excellent job, and then you can play maybe a bit more conventionally, of course, assuming that rush strats are not the conventional way that Wildcard plays. I like that they checked the tub, by the way. I think after the Philippox game, you got to check that tub all the time because they didn't drone that, and Team Liquid Alienware literally won a round because Philippox just popped up from that position and demolished the attackers.
Yeah, absolutely. They're dotting their I's, they're crossing their T's, and now after the roam clear goes through, they can start looking towards the site, understanding that rush round 1 didn't go their way, so they changed tactics pretty dramatically, clearing through the full map. Spiker's got a way to try to get himself into the bomb site. Historically, Spikers love playing the Maverick here to try to open things up, stop any kind of bandit tricking, but deciding they don't need it, getting more value out of this Blackbeard to be able to clear through that north side of the map, set themselves up pretty nicely to go for this push. If he can get himself into a plant spot, that could have been big, but Diffuser just crawls through to take him down.
What is happening in this match? I mean, theatrics, obviously, but we expected that. Kansan's got a couple silhouettes that are just out of reach. Almost dies in that position. Han Cold now on the board, shredding through Agent 94. Baby Shark will die shortly thereafter. M80 through these mid-rounds, they seem to thrive in the chaos. They get all the right reads, they win all the gun duels, and Hot and Cold screams so loud he scared his poor cat. 2-0 start for M80.
Yeah, you can see the emotion on the side of M80, and I really like what they're doing on these defenses, Parker. When things get slow, when Wildcard are just getting ready to set up, M80 are swinging out. They're taking the initiative. They're making things happen, even though they are the defenders. It takes us all the way back to the very first series, the very first map, when we had Space Station Gaming versus 1 of 30. One of the biggest criticisms we had was on their defense. SSG weren't really making those swings. They weren't making a lot of moves. They were really just sitting in their spots and hoping to win the duels. M80 are very active on these defenses, whether it's the fact that they're engaging so quickly on the roam, like we saw in this round earlier on the north side of the map, or whether it's just the late round movements, whether it's Diffuser crawling out on his belly to be able to get a kill in the midst of that, whether it's Gavin, who now consistently has dropped 2K after 2K in the late round chaos to pull things back for his team. It's been really impressive to watch.
Lots of weapons on both teams.
10 seconds remaining.
So far, the offense, though, sputtering for Wildcard. I like the idea, again, behind these rush strats, but if things fall apart early and you can't recover, it's quite tough. I mean, you saw it in the matchup that preceded this.
I only know how to outdo myself. How to go for the...
Denari setup, Parker. He's going to make this
No,
happen.
I know. Look, I'm not a man of short words, but I see stuff like this and I just think, I'm just not creative enough. I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm not. I've been playing a particular Pokemon inspired game on the Switch that also kind of plays like Minecraft and Stardew Valley, and I see all these. I just went on YouTube once, looked up a bunch of videos, and they're like, "This is my Pokopia home," and I looked at it and I was like, "Yeah, I'm just too stupid for this. There's no universe in which I could even come close to making it look that nice." And then I see even some of the intricate setups that teams play, and I'm just like, man, I'm so out of my depth here. I do appreciate the creativity of the Denari tripwires, especially the one that was found a long time ago where they just coiled it on the bottom, and the moment you vault through the window, you just insta-die.
Yeah.
I'd be punching my monitor if that happened to me, so good to see Gunnar use it, though.
It's long been loving this Denari. We'll see it once again now being played on this bottom floor site. That hatch dropping into sitting is such an important hatch to try to control, whether you're the attack or the defense. Curious if Wildcard will have much pressure up above. They did bring a ram, but this is going very horizontal, and it's a beauty shot from Adrian, which rips the head off of Gavin. start us off strong with a one-man lead. Now we start to see that burp pressure from up above. It's pretty solo from Baby Shark, trying to cause some distractions as the team hits towards the site.
Hot and Cold levels things out yet again, and there's M80 once more. It's Gavin using the Razor Bloom. Very rare to actually see a Razor Bloom kill, usually just used to slow people down and do some damage, maybe some displacement. So kudos to them for that. 2 rounds in a row now where Adrian has started off the bloodshed. And well, he doesn't really have a ton to show for it. He gets an opening pick and then is very quickly traded back. And the intel ops outside of the Dokkaebi are the ones that died at the hands of Wildcard. Big difference here. Round number 1, shield focused with a bit of intel. Second round, mostly shield focused. This one, all intel all the way. Was that the holy triumvirate of the Dokkaebi, the Lion, and the Deimos. Add Snake to the mix if you really want, but he's obviously banned. Still a lot of intel there for Wildcard and 3 very irritating operators to deal with. Still with all this information, Wildcard trail by 1.
Yeah, it's so awkward though. You don't have control of medbay. Gunnar just sitting inside of there, being able to hold things down. Spiker equalizes, taking down Hot and Cold, so that thing's maybe bodes well for the attackers. The positioning I still like from M80, but with 30 seconds left, Wildcard could have an explosive execute to finish us off.
Baby Shark's been having a bit of a rough stage. This is the time where he needs to come alive along with the rest of the team. He was instrumental in their LAN runs. Down goes Kansan at the hands of Ashen. So Baby Shark will need to do even more. He won't get it done. Ashen with 2, Diffuser the final kill. And that's all she wrote. 3-0 the start for M80, and they are really not breaking much of a sweat so far.
Yeah, and one thing you can notice between all 3 rounds, Parker, is Wildcard will take some moves to get close to the bomb site. First round, it was a rush. Second round, it was the roam clear. Third round, it's kind of interesting. They're taking space towards the south side. They get around the site, but then there's always a pause right before they go for the execute. And whether it's them trying to bait out movements from SSG or from M80, or whether it's them just trying to set up their utility, that pause always seems to screw them, because if they go slow, then sometimes M80's not doing anything and they're just wasting their own time. If they try to go fast, then M80 often are making swings. They're making those moves, and it's catching Wildcard off guard. It's making it really difficult for them to try to make these aggressive plays and have success when they actually go for the executes, because I think the early game has been relatively successful, but it's just converting those final pushes, those final 30 seconds where Wildcard have really been struggling. Big moment from Ashen, of course, the one to kind of close things down in that 3rd round. He's playing against Wildcard for the 12th time in his career, but has just a 27% win rate versus this org, because historically Wildcard had ownership over SSG. It seems like, and it's a low sample size so far, but it seems like Ashen's fortunes are changing as he's now moved over to M80.
Timeout now finishes. Great points across the board. Opening kills for Wildcard tell a bit of a story again. The opening rounds, so good. Go back to round number 1. They almost got the opening duel 2. It was a trade, so even though technically Hot and Cold got kill number 1, there was a blink and you miss it back and forth between these teams. So in theory, all 3 rounds, Wildcard has been getting kills immediately the moment the action begins. Sometimes it's ahead of M80, one time it's literally a second afterwards. So the start of the round are okay for Wildcard, and I do wonder now with this new look and this new identity and Spiker changing things up because the roles on the team have now forced them to do so, if they think maybe on this map, if M80 doesn't have the familiarity that we do, then we can get away with playing cute and cheeky, and I think we are going to get a rehost here.
Sure, we'll get it sorted out. Quick little tech pause, hopefully nothing too dramatic, but I mean, in any case, this Wildcard team might benefit from slowing things down a little bit. They just used their tactical timeout, and it seemed like we were getting in nicely before the tech pause came through. So a bit more time to dwell on the words of Lagonis. He will not be able to talk with his team anymore, of course, through the tech pause, but they can think about those words a little bit more, hopefully try to get themselves back into this game mentally. I wonder if there's maybe some pressure to it as well, Parker. Obviously, Wildcard have not had the best stage, but you come into what is undoubtedly home turf in terms of Fortress. You were, in my opinion, and what most people would agree, the best Fortress team in the world the first time this map was shown in competition. 4-0 at SI over some very, very good teams. to go down 3-0 has got to be quite shocking, especially because they've changed some strats up, and certainly they've changed a player on the roster. That'll make a big difference, but it's still the same map that they know and love. A lot of the same styles of push are going to be the same. That top floor clear over after clearing the North Rome game was very similar to what we saw from them at SI, so I wonder if that's maybe getting in their head a little bit and making them worry a bit about, okay, well, have we been found out? Have our strats been read too much? Are we still that same Fortress team that we were back in Paris?
So apparently there was an issue with the timeout where the coaches were unable to speak. So there has been a rehost due to that. So we'll get that all sorted for you. Just trying to be as accountable and forthcoming with you, the viewers, as possible. Obviously, if you're calling a timeout, probably want the coaches to talk to the players. I think that's I think that's a pretty good thing. To your point, though, this is the type of thing where when I reference numbers and data and we talk about things like, oh, they're the best Fortress team, it's a completely different team. They didn't just swap a player, they swapped their roles up, right? Spiker went on to Dash's. For the most part, he went on to Dash's old role. It's a role that he's not familiar with. It's a role he does not have experience playing. Yes, these are tier 1 players. They can adjust to just about anything. But again, you have 4 maps in Kickoff. Sure, they've probably been scrimming it, but you've got to adjust to Adrian. Adrian's got to adjust to you. The rest of the team needs to adjust to the changes in style because the calling is obviously going to be different. Spiker can't call from his role the exact same way he did previously. He's going to be seeing different things. His focus will be elsewhere. Who knows if Adrian is helping with the team on the day-to-day when it comes to calling. And the meta's changed. Aurora is different, right? She got some serious buffs. Solid Snake is in the game. Shields are still very viable, but we have now shifted quite quickly towards Dokkaebi, Deimos, Snake defining a lot of these rounds, and it's also changed operator bans. So very quickly you go from being what could be the best Fortress team in the world on Wildcard side of things, which I have no issues with whatsoever, to suddenly it's a whole different landscape, a whole different meta, and you've now got kind of a different team as well. It's very easy for all of those changes to add up enough to make it where you don't have that edge on this map. Additionally, Fortress was a lot newer back then. Now teams have been scrimming it more, they've been playing it more. Maybe other teams have changed up their map pools, and suddenly we're seeing squads play Fortress more. And to that point, Fortress has actually seen quite a lot of play across all regions. Surprisingly so. Other teams could just catch up. So, I mean, if Wildcard was resting on their laurels here, it's not going well. And I mean, overall, as you pointed out very, very well too, this team is like perennially 5th place in the region.
Yeah.
They do well internationally, but this is a team that always seems to be on the outside of the top 4. When they play domestically, it's internationally where they flourish. So a lot of things working against this Wildcard team right now.
I think what confuses me most with this Wildcard team is you talk about the roster change, the role changes, you talk about Adrian and Spiker having to change roles, and that's all true, but Spiker is by far playing the best on this team. You look at their stats and even how they were playing throughout group stage, and it's not the supports where the role changes were, where they're having problems. It's guys like Baby Shark going -11 through group stage, being the lowest rated player that's still qualified to the upper bracket. I mean, his role hasn't really changed from the old team to the new team. Obviously, there are things changing around him, and that can affect a player, but it's some of these other guys that I think have been extremely successful for Wildcard in the past. He was the best player on Wildcard in stage 2 of last season, who have now come into the new season and just haven't been able to find their stride. For Baby Shark in particular, I know it's something he's talked about, I know it's something he's working on, I know it's something he's desperately trying to solve, but it's not necessarily the roles and the players that you would expect after a big change like this that have been the problem points for Wildcard throughout this stage so far. It's very difficult to diagnose from a fan's perspective, certainly from a caster and from a desk POV, without knowing the internals of the team. We're never going to really have the right answer as to what's been going on with this roster, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on going forward, because I do feel like as this team has changed with their roster move, maybe their ceiling is even higher. Adrian's a great player. Dash had some problems last season. For some reason, putting things together have not gotten the results Wildcard are looking for, and while I had hoped that the time between playoffs and group stage had maybe been able to smooth over some of those issues, so far, through at least 3 rounds of playoffs, we haven't seen that.
Yeah, and again, just to go to show you, this is 4 best of ones for you to find your footing in a game environment. And I say game environment, and I stress this point because you're going to be scrimming, you're going to be practicing. You know, you got your game day reps with your team at SI, and then SI was 2 months ago. Like, time has flown by here. The game changes, players change, attitudes change, meta changes, map pools change, rosters change, and you have to be on top of all of that. I mean, I hate to use them as kind of a focal point here, but look at a team like Shopify Rebellion. They made no changes. They brought in an assistant coach to help them. The roster remained the same. This is a team that consistently finishes top 3 in their region, usually in the conversation for top 10 to top 8 internationally. And they're in the lower bracket and are 1 best of 3 away from failing to make the major. Did they make any changes? Not really. Ambi started helping to call on defense, but surely that's not the only reason why they're having issues. Obviously, there were other things that must have changed about their strategies behind the scenes, but effectively, for the average viewer, this is the same team, and yet there seems to be quite a drop-off in their ability. Wildcard made a move. They picked up a player who I think is objectively better in Adrian.
Yeah.
But sometimes bringing on the better player does not necessarily make you an overall better team. So I agree with you. I think that the skill ceiling might be higher for this wildcard team, and maybe they do get better, but maybe it just takes after Salt Lake. Who knows?
Yeah, I think, and again, we're maybe reading too much into 3 rounds, but it's all we really have to go off of, so I'm still going to continue to
stalling
do so.
for time.
I think this is a very difficult matchup for Wildcard. You go to the group stage, what were some of their strongest statistics? Well, they were very good at the entry conversion. They had an 80% win rate when they got that opening pick, but they're going up against M80, the best recovery team in the North America League. They have a 47% win rate when they lose that opening pick, and I think we've seen that. Multiple opening picks now have gone the way of Wildcard, even round 1 where they didn't get the entry, as you said. They have the early advantages. M80 are the best team in North America at reclaiming the advantage and winning the round anyways. What was another one of Wildcard's strength for the regular season? Well, they were the most objective-focused team. They had the highest plant percentage of any team in the North America League. But you look at this first 3 rounds, they haven't gotten a plant off once, and M80 are the best team at denying plants also in the North America League, allowing plants in just 5% of defense rounds that they played throughout the group stage. So I do think there's a factor where a lot of Wildcard's strengths that they were able to show through the regular season kind of get nullified by M80's own strengths, and that might be part of the reason why we now have a 3-0 lead for M80.
Yeah, of course. And Ashen and nobody's ever doubted Ashen's ability as a player either. I do know that when the SSG team would struggle, Ashen was a lightning rod for criticism. Not, I don't think, because of his abilities, but because of him as a person, right? Ashen is loud. He's brash. He is, in so many ways, he is the American stereotype that people all over the world see and will often skewer. I think Ashen is a great presence for an esport. I think he's a character. I think he makes people care about his matches. I think he's the type of person that makes people talk. I don't know how he is as a teammate. I've never teamed with him, but I don't think you could argue that he made SSG worse. And I mean, M80 took a player like Kino, who had some struggles, comes onto the team, and he looked really good. He was playing the unsexy roles, but he looked really good. Now Kino's over on DZ being one of the best players in North America. So Ashen has big shoes to fill. And he doesn't fit very perfectly into Kino's roles either. But there's familiarity there and there's comfort there. And Ashen is finding the system. All of it under Fabian as a coach who's very different from Call Out. I think that's fair to say. So Ashen is now dealing with, you know, different coaching, different vibe. It's not that SSG friendship team. I think he's flourishing in this role. And just as we said that about Wildcard, I honestly think that with Ashen on the team, this M80 skill ceiling could be a little higher than it was with Kino as well. And you know what? That's not a knock against Kino because he's playing on DZ right now, and DZ looks like an absolute juggernaut.
Yeah, I think the potential is very high in North America. All teams have made moves that could end up resulting in some big performances in the future, but thankfully we have to speculate no longer because we are back in the game. We do appreciate your patience waiting for this match to resume. M80, a perfect set of site rotations through the first quarter, winning all 3 of the primary sites here on Fortress. We go to the top floor once again, though, this office site. Last time Wildcard tried a rush, they're not going to be trying that again. Multiple drone operators being brought by Bay and Baby Shark. You've got Spiker here on the Monty as well. So it speaks to me, Parker, that they're going to take this push slow and steady, clear the south side of the map, go for a full top floor clear, and try to get some space before they go for execute.
Well, Spiker's being harassed left, right, and center. Flames in front of him. He eats an impact nade as well. The guy who was responsible for the opening picks in the last 2 rounds, Adrian, he's gone. He's bleeding out. He'll need to be secured at some point. The job will get done. Ashen catches him. Can I say Ash Ketchum? No, you don't get the rep. Okay, that's great. Okay, whatever. I thought it was very funny. I thought it was a very funny play.
I laughed.
The next one up. Bleeding in real life while trying to deal with the pillar in front of him. Hot and cold, gunning down Baby Shark. Wildcard once again very quick, 90 seconds off the clock, and they are just knocking on the door of this bomb site, and yet they come up empty-handed, as we've seen through the last 2 rounds.
This roam presence has been so annoying to clear out for a Wildcard. I mean, every time they try to take space, there's a Goyo, there's an Impact, there's a Thorn. You said it, Parker. It's just been so difficult to take space. They've spent almost 2 full minutes, and they have gotten control of briefing, but man, it has cost them a lot of bodies. Now trying to do what they can to continue to get space. This breach should be fine. There's mute jammers, but it shouldn't stop these cans from getting the wall open. They'll have an angle in towards the bomb site, but I'm worried about just how many different angles M80 will have. They can flank out through Master. They can push up around Horse. If one of these players loses their gunfight on the side of Wildcard, it could all come tumbling down for the plant.
Absolutely. Spiker will already be in a position where he's relying on 2 players to contend with 5, so it'll be a really tough spot for them. Bay makes it a little bit more winnable. Down goes Gunner, and 30 seconds off. 30 seconds remain on the clock. They have to jet off. Nitrocell will go out to finish up what remains of Bay. Kansan dies, and Spiker is shortly thereafter. 3 separate players on the side of M80 involved in that final altercation. Long delay between rounds, it does not matter. M80 back to their winning ways. They are undefeated so far here on Fortress.
And it's good to see Ashen continuing to find success on this M80 squad. We talked about him a lot in that tech pause, but really just having a big impact on the roam. He found that opening pick onto Adrian. He found it, I believe, just on the outside window through vending. So able to get kind of that early pick onto Adrian, who has been excellent on the opening pick department for Wildcard today. And at the same time, Baby Shark kind of hitting the back lines over towards Mez, ends up falling to make that a 5v3, Parker. And it's again kind of some of the similar stories we've been talking about with Wildcard, where they're not able to get some of those early rounds converted. It's especially tough if you don't find that opening couple of kills, if you're not able to win the early game. And M80 looking so confident. I said that this was going to be nearly an impossible map for M80 to try to take up against Wildcard, but despite the successes they've had in the past, it is looking like this will be their first time falling on Fortress.
5 seconds to insertion.
Grim stuff, and not the stage and the start that they wanted. I mean, we did talk to Spiker on the podcast a couple times, or about this issue a few times, and what it means for the team, and he was pretty confident that they'd be able to work it out. Spiker undoubtedly has a great mind for this game, but there's a long trail of players with a great mind for this game that ultimately never won a championship. Spiker and fans of Wildcard really hoping that they don't add his name to that list, but there's obviously a big hurdle here that this Wildcard squad need to get over. And I don't think you can just simply say, oh, well, it's because Dash is off of the team. There's obviously a lot more going on. Baby Shark is not looking like himself. He got a lot of praise and accolades at SI for how dominant he was in games against tough competition, and yet he enters the day towards the very bottom of the North American charts. A 78 EPS is bottom of the barrel. He's in the cellar right now with a negative 11 as well. And despite that, he is the 2nd most entry stats of anybody on the team. He's just dying a lot, and that's a problem for them.
Yeah, absolutely. He knows this problem. He's been talking about it a lot on socials. He's trying to get back into things, but it's been a tough start to the season for him. Now with just approaching that minute-and-a-half mark here on the round, Parker, they are desperate for one of these opening gunfights. Hot and cold, repositioning on this roam. He is very aggro. Decides to fall on back, decides he doesn't need to risk his life as the Tachanka. They'll fall back, reinforce these sites, and I don't know if this is better or worse for Wildcard. They take a long time, but they don't end up getting any picks. I guess it's better than round 4 where they lost 2 bodies in the opening gunfight, but I do feel like they're kind of playing into M80's hand once again. They're going to be stalling out quite heavily here on this bomb site attack, and if the time gets away from them, it could end up being really devastating.
Kansas now taking some damage. Wildcard will strike first. They've done that a couple times so far. It's never netted in a round win, so they're hoping that their fortunes change this time. Ashen gone, now Bay will follow, so neither team with a big advantage. Credit to M80 for being able to trade this one right back. Gavin swings! Oh, he almost had one on a Kansan, but Kansan can now level up in this position, very quickly finding himself in a 1v2. These teams come to blows and then everybody dies, Jesse, all at the same moment. Impossible for us to talk about it. With the final kill, M80 secures another round and they are staring down a perfect first half. Right now, sitting at 5-0, one more round before the side swap.
The last time Kansan faced up against M80 in his career was at the Munich Major, where he posted the best game he has ever played, 15-2 on map 1 of that best-of-3 series. Goes for a good try here, nice little triple kill on the round, sets himself up nicely to trade his teammates, but it's not quite enough to even scrape by 1 up against the M80 team that they're facing today. Struggling once again to get themselves in with those entries. Yes, it's a technical opening pick, but then the advantage is immediately traded back out. You talked about it. Diffuser steps up for a big pick in the middle of that round to try to equalize that man count. And again, I don't think the time was a huge problem for them. I do like that Maverick coming out from Spiker. They started to have ways around that wall denial, and it helped force them into some awkward spots on the side of M80 that got them that opening frag. But at the end of it, you're barreling up Old Tower, and the shots are frankly just better on M80. They look more confident, they look more composed, and they're winning so many of these duels that Wildcard can't seem to compete on.
What does this mean for map number 2, Jesse? Like, you get, frankly, you get humiliated on your own map choice. You know, I heard that the Edmonton Oilers are playing in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and I hear that you as an Edmonton native, a day away from your birthday, which happy belated birthday to Jesse J. Chick for those of you that are following along. Tomorrow is technically Laxing's birthday, but since they are in the Copenhagen studio, it is technically Laxing's birthday where he is, so happy birthday, Laxing. But my point is that if puck drop is in about an hour or so, maybe M80 got the memo and they're like, let's get this one done for JC, and we don't mean the good Lord up top.
Hey, I mean, I know Ashen's a big hockey fan, not necessarily of the Oilers, but listen, maybe try to catch that game as well if your team is already out of the playoffs. In any case, I'm sure M80 are not going to complain about an early finish. They are really storming over Wildcard in this series and have been so dominant on this defensive side here for Fortress. Down to the bottom floor for their last attempt. They could close out a flawless half Parker, which would almost certainly shut the door on Wildcard's chances, at least for this first map. You're looking to that entry as you always are, aren't you? I mean, it's a very similar push to what we saw last time from Wildcard. They've taken the ram up top. They've gotten a little bit of space with that. They're mostly playing around these old tower stairs. I like the Thatcher. They'll clear out both Kaid Bois, which was placed on this hatch, but when you come down to the executes, 5v5, where Wildcard have struggled all day, is this util burn going to be enough to finally let you get that kid on the ground?
Yeah, great question. They've got that top floor control, and they're now looking down endearingly into the bomb site, but M80 so far just evades them. Away in corners of the rooms, not visible from the destruction that's been done from the attackers up top. Now logic bombs will go off to enable and help them here. Kansan suffering some serious damage. Bay dies, and Spiker seemed to hesitate as he watched him drop to his death right in front. Baby Shark will get his first kill. He and Adrian moments ago without a single frag since coming back from the rehost. What are they able to do here now? Outnumbered 2-1 yet again, and Baby Shark being watched on that default cam. He's got a couple targets to try and find. Now on over to Adrian as he gets ever closer. Ashen sitting like a target dummy inside the oven. We kept him in there for a little too long. Adrian dies at the hands of Hot and Cold. So does Baby Shark. Okay. Not today, he says. A perfect first half for M80 on Wildcard's map.
Parker, if I was Wildcard after experiencing all of that, I would be completely floored. I would be speechless. And thankfully, I don't have to come up with anything to talk about because we've got our desk to break down those first 6 rounds. What have we got our hands on here, guys?
At the mid-match point here where we're coming in to break this down, it really feels like we're doing a post-map analysis. 6-0, this feels like it's just about over, Fox. Maybe we thought this team was going to come out swinging, but 6-0, map number 1, what is happening
These
right
guys
now?
suck.
These guys.
It's a close game. You know, for Wildcard, I mean, like we said, it didn't matter what maps it comes down to. Are we going to see the tournament Wildcard that we're used to winning? I mean, no, we're not seeing them right now. Of course, it's defense fortress, but the way that M80 is playing, I mean, this style of play of bringing so much utility that Wildcard has to go through step after step, wall after wall, and at any point, M80 can turn the Jets on and fight them exactly in the place that they want to fight Wildcard, and it just looks like Wildcard just doesn't have a way around it. If they're trying to get through Bandit Tuberal, even if they bring a map, whatever the case may be, it just doesn't look like they know what to do. And frankly, I mean, M80's just playing very smart. And when they choose to go for those gunfights, they're winning. Even in the last round, it looked like Wildcard just kind of gave up. They opened up the hatch and said, all right, let's drop. And 2 people drop into a crossfire. It's just seems like Wildcard has already counted their loss out in this map.
And, you know, I don't want to say Wildcard isn't trying here because they are clearly still bringing operators to help with an attack. It's just every time they get to that late round point, I think Jesse or Parker said it, they just stop. There's immediate pause that you can clearly see that they lose all sense of what this next step is. Players are dying, then players are going off on their roam. I already talked about Bay and Baby Shark. They're supposed to be the entries, but I see them droning for themselves. I see them doing their own obstacles and, you know, things that they're trying to do on their own. They need someone droning for them. And even for the side of Spiker, I mean, yes, you are taking on Dash's role. Yes, you can use those shields a little better. But if it's clearly not working, pivot off of it at that point. Do something else. Try to get yourself in there. And I think that's really what's hindering Spiker in particular, is that he is taking on these roles. Whereas you look at him back when he was up with Dash, he was off on his own doing something with someone else and getting information relayed. Now he's taking in all information, which on one side, that should be easier for you to make a round go into your favor. But then on the other, you're also changing your style of play, which maybe systematically just isn't working out regardless of picking up a player like Adrian. And also maybe Adrian might have to shift onto a different role. But whatever we're seeing right now clearly is not working anywhere into their favor.
It feels like we're going to be having a similar conversation in maybe just a few seconds, but for now, Jesse and Parker, back to you.
Camera in position.
Halftime. Oh, by the way, there might be one more round. Not quite halftime. Hooray! I mean, what it would be for M80 to take this 7-0. We talk about statement matches and we talk about players having statement games. Aiden just had a statement game on Chalet in the series that preceded this. I'm not going to spoil what the end result was, but sometimes you can have a statement match and it really doesn't mean much beyond, you know, making a statement for yourself or for your team.
Yeah.
Here on M80, everybody looks good. They're jostling kills. They're all prepared for it. Wildcard doesn't have a single answer. Wildcard gets first kill. Doesn't matter. Wildcard gets dominated, finds some footing in the mid round. Doesn't matter. Now Wildcard gets to defend on Fortress. The name is quite apropos because this does tend to be a bit of a fortress for the defenders at times. So Wildcard by nature of this map will likely do better here. And again, they chose this map. M80 chooses the side. Wildcard will likely see much greater success. But you got one round. That's it. You bottled this first attempt. That's it. The game is over.
Well, M80, they've certainly got their opportunities. They can go for something crazy. They could go for a bit of a rush if they wanted to. Choosing not to do so in this first attacking round, they're not following in Wildcard's footsteps, and I have to say that's probably a good idea given how those footsteps went. Also not going for a super heavy roam clear from what we're seeing so far, Parker. Instead, they've got these players down below, and this should get spotted by Adrian. He's about to see one. There it is. Finds solid snake down below. That's Gunner, and can track his movements as he's likely going over towards the main stairs. If he makes it there or not is another question. The shotgun doesn't quite find its mark, though, Parker, and Gunner will escape with all his HP.
Oh, Ashen gunning down Spiker. Hot and cold needs to be retrieved. There goes Bay. in a hurry, things falling apart for Wildcard, so M80 showing their teeth. Hot and Cold does get finished off by Adrian. That Nitro Cell would have claimed Ashen if he'd gotten too close. Credit to the youngster for not bothering with that engagement, and allows Ashen to show what power a Deimos has. They'll hunt down the pulse, so Intel versus Intel. Wildcard also bringing the Valkyrie. This is a lot of information for the defenders, and they'll use it, hopefully, to their success in the next 90 seconds.
Great information coming out from Gunnar. He knows the exact position of this player inside a bedroom. It's Adrian on the pulse, so information goes both ways, but it's going to be easier for the attack to try to capitalize on this. Sees that one crosses, pulls out the secondary, and Gavin eats about half HP, but he is still existing just fine outside that main breach. We've got players down below. They've got players in New Tower. There's information strong on the side of Wildcard, but they have to take a fight to get this man count back to even.
Gavin has a really good read on this. Baby Shark exposes a bit too much of himself. This might be the ball game as Adrian gets active over towards those tower stairs, now running for the bed. Not quite tucked in just yet, but bedtime fast approaching for them. Kansan on the board now. Diffuser goes down. M80's leads still holding strong. They've got one more player. If Ashen attempts to get the defuse kit down, as he is, they just need to cover. He gets picked off by Adrian, though, so poor coverage on the side of M80. Will either of these two remaining players attempt the defuse? No. Kansan shredding Gavin. Gunnar almost punished him for that. Gunnar flicking over. Caught in a crossfire. Wildcard will not go without a round. They win their first defense. It's tight, but a win is a win, and they prolong their stay here on Fortress.
Welcome to the game, Wildcard. You're a little late, but at the end, you've shown up, and that's what matters. Nice little defense coming out from there. The information, I think, was so critical in that, Parker. The pulse was feeding from start to finish all of the moves that were being made on the side of Wildcard. Because they had all that intel, because they knew where these players were at, they could go for kind of aggressive swings. And yes, it didn't always work out their way. Adrian and Kansan got left into a 2v4, but they had the information to play within that 2v4. They knew where those players in M80 were likely to push from. That allowed them to hold the crossfires. That allowed them to take good fights. That allowed them to hit the shots that they were hitting. And it's a big pullback from Adrian and Kansan, the oldest and the youngest player on this Wildcard team, to try to get their roster back on track and survive in this game against M80.
It's a long series, so when we go on over to Cafe, it'll be our fifth unique map of the day. The only overlap between this series and the series that came before it would be Chalet, and that's if we need a third map. Right now, the likelihood of us seeing map number 3, given the scoreline, and given that the next map is M80's, and M80 is just a single round away from winning map 1, yeah, I wouldn't bet too much on seeing that Chalet. So either way, unique maps. But yeah, Cafe, that is going to be an exciting one. And if you think this Wildcard team loves their unpredictability on a map like Fortress, well, boy, oh boy, there is so much rush potential and quick plant potential on a map like Cafe. The only thing is, it's going to be more comfortable for M80. So will Wildcard still decide to go for broke, knowing that they are behind on that map just in terms of knowledge? It might be a viable strategy to try and even the playing field. It has not worked on Fortress this time around. Now we turn our sights towards round number 8.
It's going to be a Dorms defense, of course. Very standard site rotation from both teams through the first 8. Gunnar loving this solid snake. He's been using it really nicely. Not historically been his operator. I mean, he's played a ton of different ops on attack throughout the group stage. He's played some of the most attackers of any player, but it's not surprising to see him necessarily on this snake. You start to get information down below as there are no roamers down there. Diffuser gets the main breach opened up, and wow, here's that information coming into practice. The Echo just playing on the site and able to get cleaned up from below. Perfect coordination. The drone plus the player beneath him. Gavin, nice little work with the pistol to be able to get that opening pick onto Adrian.
Opening duels have not been as important in this series as you'd think, but when you give M80 an inch, so far on Fortress, they've taken a mile. It did not work out on the previous round, so there is precedent here for M80 to ultimately bottle it, despite having a numbers advantage. They find themselves in familiar territory, and with over a minute to go, Hot and Cold's getting the diffuser down. Wildcard reduced to just 3 players. Nitro Cell goes out to no avail. Baby Shark dies as well, and in the post plant, M80 just needs to find 2 souls. Bay and Spiker now working together. Bay's taken down 1, still 4 more to find, but the timer will be a bigger impediment. They need to be quick here. A good swing from Spiker, but a cleanup from M80 sends Fortress away. M80 stealing Wildcard's map in dominant fashion. Will that materialize here on M80's map pick?
It's going to be a tough battle, Parker. There's no doubt about that. M80 love to play here on Cathay. They are 2-0 since the season began, and Ashen joins the roster, beating both 1 of 30 and Shopify Rebellion. So we've got a lot of experience from this team playing on this map. That means VODs will be available for Wildcard, no doubt about that, but you still have to be feeling confident if you're in the lime green today. They played expertly on their opponent's map pick, now get to come to home turf where they will go up against Wildcard playing for their upper bracket lives. Starting on the attack might be the only disadvantage they have in this map, but I still have to imagine they'll be feeling confident. 56% attacking win rate on Cathay since the season began. That's a 9-round sample size as well. So quite a lot of data suggesting that M80 should be off to a strong start this game.
I mean, we didn't expect them to be off to such a strong start on Fortress, and then they go 6-0, Jesse.
Yep.
Once again, they want... Go ahead.
Sometimes data lies, as it did in that previous map, so maybe now it'll lie the other way.
You are a numbers guy. If anybody has a good read on when numbers are wrong, I have to imagine it's you.
Thanks.
So I trust you on the numbers. Nope. Okay, great.
What do you mean? They might lie. They might lie. I don't think they'll lie, but like they could lie. I didn't forget about you not taking me to Salt Lake City when you win those tickets, so don't expect any goodwill.
First round here on Cathay, and we are live in action. Wildcard choosing to defend first, a familiar spot for people on this map. Cathay not really seeing as much pick rate in NA as some of its contemporaries, but a stable and reliable map. I do worry for Wildcard's chances here, as we always want all 3 maps and we always want a competitive series. That Wildcard might have some early struggles. I think for me, it's going to see not what the results are, but how they go about it, right? Because there's a 4-2 where teams are competitive and just there needs to be a winner in the rounds, and then there's a 4-2 where you get demolished, the same word I used earlier, on your losses, and then you demolish on your wins. What is the confidence going to be for Wildcard? Because I think there's good reason for their confidence to be shaken. M80 didn't have a real weakness on Fortress that could be exploited. They were good on the entry, they were good on trades, they were good in the mid-round, they were excellent in the final moments of a round. Where does Wildcard start to turn that ship?
It's got to be in the early game, Parker. This was maybe the one thing that they had some success on was the opening picks on map number 1. They've got another opportunity now here on map 2 to find that first frag, get things open up in the round, start yourself off on the right foot. It's always where it has to start. This top floor clear, of course, will come underway from M80. I like the tools they brought for this, but it's the peek through the window. Adrian, yet another opening frag in this series. He's been very sharp with that today, Parker. Now they just have to convert it.
Yeah, I feel a little bad for Adrian because he got the opening duel twice before. This is lucky number 3. It's only been him and Kansan striking first on this team. And guess what? None of those times resulted in a round victory. They lost every single time they got first blood. So not really an indication as to where this round is going to go, but ultimately a great start. And more importantly, you take out the Capitao. This is a critical operator for making space. Adrian will take down Gavin now. His second kill as a Nitro Cell goes out. Gunner on the board. Diffuser 2. Kansan in on the fun. Half of the server gone. 50 seconds still remain, and it's M80 down by 1 player.
It's a classic Nitro Cell up to the laundry hatch. An oldie and a goodie. So gives the advantage over towards Wildcard even more. Still that 1-man lead. Lots of time to work with if you're M80, and they've got a bit of map control here up above. Make sure to see where they want to take this. They could go dropping through the pillar into the reading door. That will be the play for Gunner. He's in a plant spot if he wants it.
He's got Diffuse Kit. He just needs the correct read. Might find some salvation here. Diffuser good enough to trade off 1. That means that Gunner will have absolutely no coverage. And sound the alarm bells. Wildcard getting in mighty close. Kansan hitting him. Gunner manages to get away, but he doesn't see Spiker over on reading door. Good coordination by Wildcard. Very M80-like on Fortress. And Wildcard get a much-needed round to start off this map.
Yeah, again, despite the information advantage that M80 had, there were just some tricks they didn't expect. Adrian peeks out the window for the first pick on a hot and cold. The nitro for the second pick there over towards Gavin. And once you've got kind of that two-man lead, they're able to run away with it with the man advantage. Happy to concede that top floor because they know M80 are the team who have to plant. They try to get a little pinch going down those white stairs. Diffuser, good for one, not good for more than that. Tough push there in the 2v3 for M80. They did it their best, but not quite enough. Kind of surprised Gunner committed to the plant and got it down in the end there. M80 are a very objective focused team, and you can see that they're willing to die for that plant to go down, but even still not quite enough for Gunner in round 1. Competitive, but Wildcard off to an early start in map 2.
It's a small snapshot, but there was a lot more confidence there from Wildcard, and I liked what they had with Adrian, his position in particular. He read into where the attackers were coming from and was fully prepared for this. Whether it was because they were actually able to figure this out ahead of time, given that this is M80's map, you're probably going to be aware of how they're going to play it. That is one of the small downsides of your map pool, is that your opponents will likely know how you're going to tackle certain things. Again, maybe M80 is bringing new strats. Who's to say it would be you? It would be a question. I think I got something stuck in my throat. I'm dying. I'm dying.
Parker, don't worry. I can tell you that I don't know if the strat itself was so different, clearing all that off, but they did have very different operators, so this is definitely a new look from M80. Once again, trying to change things up a little bit. There are consistencies. Diffuser loves the gridlock here on Cafe. The Buck, a very common choice here from Gavin, but hot and cold on the sends. Again, something they've played. This is actually a very similar strat to what they played earlier in the stage. So this bottom floor attack might be a little bit easier to read from Wildcard, but you're right, they didn't have any struggles with that when they were defending down onto reading. Now one floor below should be much the same. I expect this to be a slow push, Parker, because we've got a full anchor setup being played by Wildcard, and M80 have brought double soft breach operators. They're going to want to take this top floor control. It's likely we won't see the first kill until the last like 45 seconds or so in the round.
Yeah, it was like Marco Rubio grabbing for the glass of water there, if you know that reference. Just trying to not choke on whatever air I breathed in. But either way, back from the dead and now able to cast it again. I think your points are spot on. I think this will be a very practiced execute from M80. They are still droning things out. They are still taking map control. We are leaving the discovery phase, and now we are in the mid-round. Typically break things down with the discovery phase being the first minute or so, then to the mid-round, then the late round and execute as the final moments here. And with teams in North America, we don't always make it to the late round, especially these two teams. We saw a lot of very quick executes. Not going to be very quick at all. You are spot on. We're about to hit the minute mark, and they are still dotting their I's and crossing their T's on the side of M80.
Sends walls from Hot will be really interesting to see kind of where those go down, what the goal will be to try to make this execute happen. Hunting for the Zoto canister right now on white stairs is what we see from Diffuser, hoping to clear that out so that they can get the hatch open sooner rather than later. Adrian's position in VIP will be well known. Every team really does put a tuber out in here. It's a very strong position to try to hold inside of VIP. They might not be as familiar with Hansen's position, also locking down VIP, but that two-player position inside of that room, it could be a bit devastating if M80 don't clear it.
And they'll get the leadoff pick now. Baby Shark gone. Baby Shark had a really tough first map. He won't have much of an opportunity to change things around. Adrian, sensational. Spiker as well. Great in the clutch in the previous round. And he's doing some mighty big work here. 20 seconds to go. Ashen in the bomb site. Nobody on M80 has that defuse kit. It will need to be retrieved, and it is being camped by Wildcard. Great structure from this Wildcard defense. Sputtering on the side of M80, but Gunner's now made it winnable. 10 seconds for him to find Spiker. I like the odds of the shotgun in the hands of the smoke. Gunner needs to pick this one, so right. And he runs out of time right as Spiker seals the deal. Wildcard off to a great start, up 2-0 on M80's map.
Yeah, beautifully played by Spiker in the midst of that, Parker. He really does everything he needs to in that round to lock things down. Starts off playing Whiskey Bar, right? And just trying to stop that pressure as the Sens wall comes in through the restaurant window. Slow down that push from M80 as they try to get VIP control. Adrian was good enough to get one early pick, but it was that pick onto Hot and Cold, which dropped the diffuser, which was so critical in shaping the rest of that attack. Kind of allowed some rotations to come through from Wildcard. You saw Spiker move then into coat check, into the front door reception area, and just have so much success as they're locking down that bottom floor bomb site. So M80, despite taking their time with it, not able to handle that early play coming out from the 2-brow inside VIP, and then not able to clean things up despite Gunner's best attempt.
I mean, it's been a rough recovery from this M80 team, but hard to judge how many drones are actively being used because I'm still of the suspicion that that drone count is not always accurate. Look at that lineup from Gunner. But yeah, I mean, a very close round, but one again where Wildcard, Adrian in particular, has done an exceptional job of flying under the radar. He's just not being spotted by these M80 aggressors. And at some point, you're gonna need to pin down this player. Spiker, though, to his credit, has been so clean in the final moments, and Adrian is getting a ton of information, scouting with that yokai drone just outside of the bakery door. They've got the pulse there for backup as well. Cafe has jump out and spawn peek potential. Ashen was on a roster that loved spawn peeking, if you recall. Not to see if he tries it when they move to defense. As for now, though, the main job for M80, Jesse, just make it in the building and maybe not give up a player early.
Yeah, they want to be able to take that space to be able to convert in towards and execute. They've got mining and dining up on the docket for our third round here, and our third bomb site selected in by Wildcard. And they brought Ashen on the blitz to try to help maybe with this top floor clear, and then also, of course, for execute as well. Not an operator we've seen him play on this map since the season began, so could be something that isn't expected by a Wildcard. But the ram in already top floor, they're going fast with it, Parker.
Yeah, they've decided to go a breakneck pace. I like this. Off to the races they go. Great read by Gavin through the wall. It allows Ashen to move up with impunity. He just needs to be wary of what happens over towards White Stairs. Adrian was integral in the first moments of this round, gaining so much intel, and there's still potential for him here as he shreds Gunner and will now try to buy time against the blitz. There were two others in tow, though. M80 was getting their kill come hell or high water, and they, well, it ends up working out. M80 on the board.
Bit of a chaotic round, Parker. I'm not sure if you caught it, but Hot and Cold jumps in the skylight, finds the opening pick, uses the ram to cause some chaos. That's all well and good, but then he dies to the vert and drops the defuse kit upstairs in bar. It kind of puts the pressure on the guys of M80. They no longer really had planting as an option, so even in kind of the 2v4, the 1v4, there was some hope to play around. So the time was pretty crazy. They had over half the round to go still, but even with that, they couldn't exactly force that plant. There was maybe an angle to get back in for Kansan and Adrian, the best two players so far today here on Wildcard, but not to be in that third round. They strike back with a nice little rush. You'll get to see some of this. This is after Hot and dies top floor with the defuse kit. It really is just good pressure being taken by Ashen and Gavin, making that space inside of reading. There's some good answers back, but the blitz, which is what I highlighted before that round even began, really just makes it oh so easy for the rest of these players to jump in, take that space, and get those free kills.
Well, this one's been a little bit more like what I was hoping for between these teams. Why don't we just make this map number one and just keep going, and then make you unable to watch your little hockey game that you want to watch? So,
well, listen, Parker, we're headed that way anyways. Wildcard taking an early lead on map number 2. And I'll be honest, I kind of rather, I'm happy to stick around and watch these two great teams if the gameplay is better than what we saw on map 1.
yeah, map number 1 was really not one for the books. So,
yeah.
I mean, if you're a fan of M80, you loved map number 1. If you were a fan of good Siege, I mean, M80 was doing good Siege, there's no denying that, but it wasn't a particularly tight contest. And of course, for those listening, it's just banter. No, there is no universe in which Jesse is eager for a match to finish early so that he can go watch a hockey game. If you're taking the things we're saying seriously, well, I got some beachfront property in Saskatoon for all of you to buy. Either way, I just want a good contest between these teams. And moreover, for the story, I want Wildcard to bounce back to where they were. I don't have any vested interest in any of these squads. Fabian is my mortal enemy, more than you, actually. But I still want M80 to succeed, just as I want to see Wildcard return to form, because I think it's fair to say the Wildcard that played at SI, the Wildcard that played at Munich, the Wildcard that played at Reload, that's not the Wildcard that we've been seeing here so far in Kickoff.
Yeah. It's been good to see a bit of bounce back here on map 2. A lot of that's been driven by the captain, Spiker, now 6-1, the lone roamer below the bomb site. Not being addressed much by M80 as they just focus on this top floor, but it's a long shot from Bay. Another early death from Hot and Cold will do them well, and Bay's good enough for 2, finding Ashen to put them in a 4v3 advantage.
Fire Arrow does good work. Ashen is having a bit of a poor game. But don't worry, he and Baby Shark both without kills so far, so canceling each other out, I think, is the way it goes. At the halfway point now here of round number 4, the defenders still locked in on this top floor bomb site. It is a mid-clear upward push for the attackers. Spiker wanders down, Gunner catches him on white stairs. More information now will be at the disposal of the attackers as those cams are cracked. You can see the bulletproof cameras being brought by Wildcard. If intel is the name of the game, Dokkaebi obviously a strong operator for many reasons, but this one in particular, really good patience here from Gunner. He spotted 2 targets. It's a goo mine, manages to get one. He knows that the jig is up. Still taking damage from that mine. Sees another inside a back bar. He's got information. He'll have to stop at some point to pull this out, all the while relying on M80 to cover him. Diffuser bottles that one and allows Baby Shark into this series. Diffuser going down. Kansan hoping to stop it. He will not succeed. Gunner and Gavin now as the last 2. Baby Shark's been dropped, so Kansan will have to do it all himself. I don't think he can retrieve his teammates, so Kansan will need to swing. He's hoping for somebody on the side of M80 to move. He's got a read on one over towards Cocktail. This is a rough spot for him to be in. He outduels the Dokkaebi. Time running out. If you're Gavin, all you have to do is survive. Play the long game, but Gavin gives him the gears, and M80 takes the round.
Gavin's not one to sit back and win on the time, Parker. He wants that frag. He's been so good for M80 all season long, really since he joins this roster. I mean, he's just been fantastic, clutching things up here in the late round. It's Gunner who I think has the biggest impact in that one. You mentioned him walking up those white stairs, having that information on the Dokkaebi. There was the Echo on the board too, don't forget, and there was still a Yokai cam alive, I believe in back bar, which did get hacked, which could have maybe been watched by the attackers. So definitely some really good information being gathered by M80 in the midst of that. And then just putting together those final couple of moments there in the plant, getting it down Cocktail. If Kansan just knew where the plant was going down, he absolutely could have denied it. If he sprays enough through the bar, maybe he's able to get that player downed, but I don't think he had perfect information and certainly didn't know where the last guy was as well. So tough 1v2 to come out from Kansan, despite all the successes that he has had historically in that clutch position, is not able to get it done today. Prompts that attack timeout again early to come out from Wildcard, but unlike on Fortress, the scoreline is relatively fine here. It's only 2-2, but I guess just feeling like they could have won those last couple of rounds, like maybe there's some big issues that need to get fixed. Lagona's deciding to call it early for Wildcard's attack timeout.
Yeah, again, this goes back to why you call timeouts in the first place. Maybe there's something he's hearing in their comms, or maybe an understanding of this map that he feels is improper, and you can nip that in the bud before it becomes a much bigger issue. Coaches hear the players, we don't. Coaches can sense the mood and the vibes of a team. If a particularly talkative player is not talking like normal and your strats revolve around that, maybe the timeout is being done to try and say, hey, what's going on here? We need your voice in the team. Maybe it's not even a strategic thing. You can't know. The only real way to know is to ask them directly afterwards, and if they feel like being candid and honest, they might tell you. But a lot of times they just give you the, was it the boilerplate, like, oh, you know, just the team wasn't performing well.
Yeah.
Terrific. I don't think you called a timeout because the team was performing well. I don't think that's why they do it. So I get it entirely. But yeah, sometimes you win a couple rounds and the coach still doesn't like what they're seeing and think that there is potential to do better. So call a timeout early, maybe settle your players down, and success will follow.
We'll go back to reading for round 5. This is the bomb site where Adrian really started things off with an explosive nitro cell up through the laundry hatch, as well as a swing out on the white window. He's brought the Sentry and actually has not brought a Nitro this time around. Barb and Impacts to play with. His teammates rip the Nitros instead. Spiker just playing down below the new hatch with potential to toss that up for an early pick if they get ballsy dropping that hatch. It's a run out instead and hits the air jab. Ooh. Adrian goes flying and Ashen to punish for his first frag.
Well, Ashen is on the board. Baby Shark found his first kill in the previous round, and that settles all the goose eggs that we saw. Now just a couple breadsticks for some of these players. So Got to get them out of the bakery at some point. Getting rid of a utility-based operator like the recruits is a good first grab, but I do think there are other players on Wildcard, operators in particular, that would have been a better target. I see a player like Adrian who's been one of the most alive and active from a kill department across Fortress and now here on Cafe, and I think that's a big loss irrespective of who he's playing on. It should give M80 a little bit more breathing room. Down goes Diffuser at the hands of Spiker. Spiker's also been pretty good. 7 kills, 2 deaths. He'll have to do even more as Kansan bleeds out on the ground. Bay circling around. I don't know if Kansan is retrievable. Diffuse kit being planted by Hot and Cold. Ashen is here to protect. Looking over towards Fireplace. A beautiful shot by Baby Shark. My God. Gavin gets sent to the afterlife on that one. Sitting on that skylight is such a strong position, and he just could not contend. Hot and Cold eliminating Spiker. That's probably target number 1. M80 looking for the win on this round. Diffuser at the halfway point, a 3v3. As now finally we see M80 head back to the bomb site. Baby Shark almost takes him down. Kansan gets one. Ashen a double for his 3rd on the round. Make it a 4th. M80 take the lead.
Oh, Liam Paz, welcome to Cafe. You were maybe a bit quiet playing on those shield rolls earlier in the map, but a huge multi-kill to be able to get M80 into the lead for the first time on the 2nd map this series. And Parker, what a round it was to come through from M80. I mean, it was a nice retake of top red coming out from Wildcard. In the midst of that, you saw Spiker rotating up those red stairs, Kansan trying to push up through bar, a couple different players collapsing on that top red position. But as everybody on Wildcard was taking the top floor, regaining it back under their control, M80 were planting in the site. Sure, you're getting nasty shots on the skylight, that's great, but you're on the top floor with your entire team, and Hotten's planting the diffuser. Sets them up so perfectly for that post plant. The objective focus game that M80 love to play continues to shine now on Cafe. Ashen a little pop-off dance after he gets his 4K, and it is finally a lead for M80.
It took quite some time, but we finally arrived here, so kudos to them. And 3 in a row for M80 is certainly quite the feat, and they've done it without changing up much of this operator lineup. They're trotting out very similar ops. Obviously, the big exception was the previous round. Diffuser has played the gridlock every single round so far on attack. He will change it up now and will go with the Twitch, as this lineup has been completely blown up. Ace now being brought for the 2nd time in a row, just the 2nd time in this first half. Flexibility on the side of M80. Wildcard still using intel, but nowhere near as much. No bulletproof cameras, just the yokai drones to deal with. I think this might be in response to the constant Dokkaebi usage on the side of M80. If that is the call made by Wildcard, kudos to them. I think it is a smart one.
Well, they are still going to be bringing that echo that Kansan was playing last time that they defended on this bottom floor. He ended up posting up just inside of VIP, protected by Adrian. Not in that same position, instead going to be similarly close inside of Whiskey, but I'm curious what M80 really want to do on this push, Parker. They've dipped out from the buck. They haven't brought as much soft destruction, and so it speaks to me like they're probably going to go a bit more horizontal with this push. Doesn't mean it's a rush, doesn't mean it's going to be chaotic, but they kind of have a different set of tools and they could take this a slightly different way. Even still, recognizing there are no roamers on these top 2 floors, Gunner will take the space that is given to him for free. A lot of pressure still happening over towards Bakery, though. You see Hot and Cold tossing in some of these Selmas, even challenging the big player. His teammates are trading out towards the garage side of the map, but that's going to be okay. The brunt of this push is still being put together nicely.
It's a recruit that dies early. Again, utility ops being played, and just pure utility, secondary utility, mind you. Diffuser will find Baby Shark. Diffuser taking some damage in the process. Early set of gas canisters deployed by Spiker now. Yokai's still up on the side of Kansan too. It looks like he's got 2. Hard to tell if his 3rd is there, but he is piling around. Just trying to get information as to where this advance is coming from. Now situated over by Whiskey, and there you go. You got a good read of where they are all positioned. Spread out, so he will have a read as to where these attackers are coming from. The lineup, though, is good. Kansan dies. He will have to govern those yokais from the afterlife. Spiker finds his 2nd kill. Bay on the board now, too. Bay inside a bakery. He's last man standing. He's taken down Gunner in the gunfight, so Gavin could try to get his teammate up. or he might just go for kills. They surely have a read on Bay's position, but that read gone after 5 seconds. Bay's lined up, playing this pixel angle on the B-bomb site. He's given himself away, re-engaging. Gavin won the engagement earlier. He's trying to get up the Dokkaebi, almost plants the defuse kit. Out goes the pocket impact, but Gavin still wins it. What on earth just happened? M80 takes their 4th in a row. The first half is in the books.
Absolutely baffled by that play from Gavin. I have no words, so let's let the desk break things down after the first half. Good Lord.
Jesse, you're baffled. I'm befuddled. I mean, this is a wild turn of events from the first 2 rounds that Wildcard were able to take. Lax, we saw 4 in a row from M80, almost every single one defined by a clutch, defined by some hero plays. Maybe it's not the way they want to do it, but they are happy that they're doing it this way.
I mean, you never want to have to rely on a single player to be able to pull out big moments, but at the end of the day, when you're looking at a team like M80 that has won 2 majors, I mean, you're going to have big players. You're going to have big players, and Gavini is no exception to that. Gunner's no exception to that, but specifically, I mean, Gavini here, I mean, this was a tremendous clutch coming out of him. Just good display of skill in these positions that he finds himself in. And this is where, you know, we've highlighted. Wait, are we doing Gavini or Gunner?
A little bit of both.
Oh, okay, it is a little bit both. Okay, I was confused a little bit for a second. But no, I mean, again, all of these players at any given moment can be able to pop off time and time again. Even in the second round prior, I mean, that was a huge 4K coming out of Ash, and then even in that last round, the 1v2, Gavini once again being able to pull it off. And both these 2 players have always performed exceptionally well. It's good to still see Ashen is performing. I did like what Jesse was talking about. He wasn't finding a lot of success in the early rounds on those shields. He immediately pivots off of it. Boom, now he's on the leaderboard. Now he's getting impactful kills. But it's good to be able to transition, test the waters. If shields aren't working, sometimes you need to swap off them. Sometimes you need to play something that allows you to frag, get into the building a little quicker, move around the map quieter that a shield just doesn't allow you. And again, I mean, this is the same thing that we've been seeing time and time again out of M80 and on their attacks is they can pivot any single role given their flexibility and versatility that they have on the team.
Yeah, that's the game plan. And it's nice to see Ashen playing shields. It alleviates hot and cold having to do it. He can play flexible operators himself. And Ashen being able to have the heads-up knowledge and his teammates to adjust when things don't work specifically for him. But that being said, from the side of Wildcard, you can almost see the frustration. It felt like when they looked at their cameras, you could see the frustration on Spiker's face. Everything that's going on, they're very frustrated with how M80 are clutching some of these rounds because it's small positions where you're like, yeah, Gunner walking up the white stairs. Yeah, Gavin's in a 1v1. Yes, anything can go any way, but at the end of the day, those are small little areas that if Wildcard's paying attention to it, Gunner doesn't get a 3K and help clutch the round out. You know, it doesn't put them in losing situations, and I think that's what Wildcard is trying to focus on going into this next half is eliminating those gaps because that's what M80 is attacking on essentially.
Right, and this is Siege, right? Those little things, they add up, and you keep losing those rounds on your defensive half. Right, you're setting yourself up for failure. See if Wildcard here can make this comeback happen, can get these 2 rounds back. They got a lot of work to do, though, on the attacking side. Guys?
Yeah, great points all around. And M80 just seemed like a very well-oiled machine. At this point in time, the scoreline across both maps, 11 for M80, 3 for Wildcard. And while I don't think there's been as much of a yawning chasm between their abilities like that, I do think that M80 has looked like they've been in full control of this series, with the exception of those first 2 rounds in the first half. So I don't know. I just think this M80 team continues to make improvements at a very quick rate, and they didn't really need to do that much to improve. I mean, yeah, obviously losing Kino hurts, and we did talk about this quite extensively, but this is a team that is just, they're firing on all cylinders. Gunner said I think he took some damage during the prep phase. Did you see what happened?
He impacted himself trying to find the drone of Bay. So, it happens.
Okay.
It happens from time to time. It's
a small oopsie.
It's small oopsie. It'll be okay. Always plays, or very often will play the Solus here on this site, as he does on a lot of different sites. Gunner's, again, played quite a range of operators on the attack, but has played almost about 50% of all defense rounds here on Solus since the North America League began. Choosing the Melusi this time around. Impacts one way or another, though, and struggling with it regardless. mining dining defense looking very similar from M80 from what we've seen from them earlier in the stage. You've got a lot of long angle guns from Diffuser, from Gavin, holding those ACOGs to try to take those fights across the top floor. Wildcard, so far, don't seem incredibly eager to challenge those top floor fights. They've got a lot of players just kind of outside the mining window. They could go for a fast play in towards the bomb site if they want to, but there's also plenty of pressure up above that they would like to alleviate. So different goals from these players as they start to pressure the top floor.
It's an awful lot of damage done to Kansan, by the way, and now Bay will fall by the wayside. A run out through the door. Adrian gets it. He was expecting a jump out on top of White as well. Really well positioned for the European player on this squad. 1-2, mind you. Baby Shark, also European. Last I checked, France is still in Europe.
Yep.
M80 with that early aggression, and now they find themselves back in the same place they were in when this round began, tied up. 1 minute and 30 seconds just eclipsed, so we're starting to get into the execute. Diffuse get in the hands of Spiker. He's been gunning a lot. He tends to be one of the more active fragging IGLs. Well, this time around, he's going to rely an awful lot on the 2 Europeans to watch him.
And Gunnar did die to a body shot, so I'm not saying the impact self-damage was the only thing that got him killed, but it didn't help. 2v2 still down on each side, leads to a 3v3 man count still up. Gavin got 2 massive kills on the top floor. Now it's up to Wildcard to put this together without all of their players available for the executes. Spike with the fuse kit is over by White Stairs, so he's likely going to try to get down those stairs and try to make his way into dining for the plant. There's a lot of threats they got to worry about. Ashen at the bottom of red. You've got Diffuser and Hot and Cold lurking around the site as well.
Oh, Ashen, a missed opportunity. He thought he had one on the run. Finished off by Baby Shark, who's getting better the more he settles into this match. It is hard to attack, so the fact that he's able to thrive in this position, kudos to him. Hot and Diffuser, the last 2 for M80 now, 10 seconds to go. Down goes Adrian, the drop from Spiker. He's all by himself. 6 seconds, 5 seconds. You just gotta hide if you're M80. Excellent final round for M80. Hot and Cold decides to go for the ego peek yet again. Gavin did that too. Man, M80 are certainly feeling themselves. What a demoralizing position I'm sure Wildcard feel like they are in. And they've already called their timeout too, so there's really no way to fix this in the moment. Another round for M80. They continue on their streak. They are 2 rounds away from facing off against DZ for a spot at the major.
I'm glad you brought up the TAC timeout, Parker. Since Lagonis called his TAC, it has been non-stop round wins. 3 straight now from M80. Just been dominating, running away with this game. It is 5 straight since Wildcard took their 2-0 lead here on Cafe. And you come back to this round number 7, it really does come down to just those long angle guns that M80 were bringing. Just hit some brilliant shots. They started, of course, top floor with Gavin hitting 2 nice kills, and then Diffuser hitting 2 nice during the 2v3 push as well. Coming through from Wildcard, just really sharp shots coming out from M80. Their position's very nice as well. It's nice to see those individuals really shining. Gavin in particular, I think, has to be highlighted. Not currently top fragging, but had the massive 1v1 to end out round 6. And also, in a gas where we've talked quite a lot about birthdays, myself and Gabe's, turned 24 back on Saturday. So plenty to celebrate if he can win this game as well. He'll be feeling very good one step closer to Salt Lake City.
I always appreciate the legwork that you do to find where people live, what they do, and then I don't know what else you do with that information, Jesse, but you have a lot of power over these people and their whereabouts and their locations.
My database grows. My database grows. Don't worry about it. You get fun facts on the broadcast. That's all you need.
There is no way for you to discreetly input data. You are the loudest typer. You hit those keys like they owe you money.
Wildcard need to start hitting their keys, particularly the shoot key, if you like that transition, as they start to try to pull this game back. Oh, round 8. It's not going to get easier, Parker. They have to attack onto reading now. Very similar to the bomb site they just attacked, where the top floor remains an important part of the defense. Diffuser once again bringing that ACOG on the 2-brow, but he's the first to fall to Adrian. Traded out nicely as these players swarm through the top floor, and it's a big man advantage as Wildcard lead by 2.
Oh, it continues to grow. M80 left with just Hot and Cold. What a sweep that was. And rocking the old Wildcard skin on the FAMAS too. A good shout there. Spiker leading by example, his team hoping to turn this corner. It will end the streak that M80 was riding on at 5 rounds. closing the gap to just 2. But yeah, I mean, a lot of players chewing on their lips, chewing on their fingers, fidgeting because they know how much pressure there is on them. But every comeback starts with 1 round. You have to close that gap. You have to do it in a hurry because M80 is on the presumed favorable side here. And this, again, is their map.
Yeah. It's important to see confidence coming out from Wildcard, and we did see it in that round there. Adrian's so important in that round, being able to just get in through cocktail, right? Swing in one of those windows, gets a massive 2-piece in the midst of that top floor chaos, is able to find both the bodies of Ashen and Gunner pushing in through that top floor. So they get a lot of early value. Comes off the back of a logic bomb, comes off the back of some of that intel from Spiker as well. Playing the Snake in the IGL role can be really impactful too. I know we typically talk about Snake as an entry fragger. That's usually how the pro teams use Snake, but I remember talking with some Ubisoft developers back before Snake was announced or released, and they said, yeah, this new operator that we're working on for year 11, it's going to be really big for IGLs. You'll have a lot of information. They kind of drip fed me some of that intel, and I was like, okay. It's good to see the IGLs kind of using that info and feeding to the rest of their team, empowering guys like Adrian's to get these kills and to really start to pop off on these pushes.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're going to talk a lot about Spiker's own fragging abilities because he has 9 kills on his own, but how many more of those kills on his team is he responsible for, right?
Yeah.
So the fact that he's able to do this from that leadership aspect and do it on his own as well with a gun in hand. Again, the fragging IGL doesn't really exist these days, and when you think of the fragging IGL, a lot of people will go back to Kendrew with the way that that old UK squad that he used to be on for so long played it. Now it's Spiker to take up that mantle, though. The rest of the IGLs are towards the bottom of the North American League standings. Spiker sitting near the top. So while Wildcard has had some struggles, Spiker has remained consistent, and it's nice to see him settling into this role.
Yeah, a lot of the fragging IGLs just are in other regions. I mean, you got Liquefac in Europe, you got Volps inside of South America. Spiker is certainly embodying that title more than most here in NA. Actually entered the series as the only player on the Wildcard above a 1.0 KD ratio, so he really has been fragging since this kickoff began and is continuing that in this playoff series versus M80. Rambling a bit once again because this is going to be a kitchen defense from M80 without a roam presence, which means it's going to be a slow one, but that's to be expected here on Cafe. Hoping to see what this push ends up looking like. The Sens is also being brought out by this Wildcard team, and you can see Spiker starting to draw lines throughout the bomb site, hoping to cut off lines of sight when they go for the plant.
Kansan will start things off. Gunner goes down. This might be the comeback materializing for yet another round as they've lost Gunner. You've lost those gas canisters. ROU projector goes out. I don't think it bounced the way that Spiker wanted, at least from the reaction on his face. But it might be just enough to conceal their drop. Knocked off of the Yokais as the Echo gets knocked off because of that logic bomb. And now Baby Shark will contest with Gavin. It's an ugly fight. He loses a lot of HP in the process, but he walks away with the victory. He and Adrian punished, both down but not out, as Diffuser has a great read, an incredible cross, doing so much damage in the process. Kansan on a shred of HP. Spiker will need to retrieve his teammates unless Kansan can do it, but Spiker is in the middle of the bomb site. He's completely alone. Yokai drone skirting in front of him, sets of eyes now trained in his direction from the remaining M80 players still upright. Kansan trying to sneak his way in under the cover of darkness. Will he be able to get these players back? Both Adrian and Baby Shark are in recoverable positions, but Kansan knows that Diffuser is lurking somewhere nearby. He finds Ashen, time running out. He has no choice but to watch as the Yokai drone is shot. Diffuse kick going down. Does Spiker pull it off? Diffuser walking in. Kansan blocking them out. Hot and Cold will need to clutch. This is completely turned on its head, and Houghton will get finished off by Kansan. An unbelievable final moment of the round as Kansan saves it, and Spiker trusts him completely.
That was absurd, Parker. He shot the Yokai cam with, I think, genuinely on 000, less than a 10th of a second when Kansan kills that Yokai, stops the plant from being denied. That could have been an entirely different round if he just doesn't click his button a little bit faster. Kansan saving things on a sliver of HP, maybe literally 1 HP, playing in that clutch position alongside Spiker. That should have absolutely been it for M80. The yokai from Cotton Cold was perfect, but he's just not able to deny it in time. He waited until the last second to try to deny, and I pray we get it on a replay, Parker, because it was just a ridiculous shot. It's right after that clip. We just missed it, but Kansan shooting the yokai cam was ridiculous in that moment. And then the fact that he wins the 1v1 too. I mean, again, just on 0 HP when he makes that play happen. An unbelievable clutch from Kansan.
I would be heated if I was hot and cold. That was crazy. Just crazy.
Attackers have discovered the location of a bomb.
And that would have been, for the record, that would have been series point for M80 if they'd pulled it off. Wildcard, what unbelievable fortunes. And Kansan is just, he's a terrific player. He hasn't really been talked about this much so far through Kickoff, despite how good he has been.
Yeah.
He's not been the top-rated player on his team. He's down in the middle of the pack. He's actually 26th of all the 50 players. But we're not that long removed from where Kansan was statistically one of the best players in North America all of last year. And he can easily outduel the best of the best. He does it domestically. He does it internationally. Not really known for his game sense, known more for his mechanical ability, but his game sense on that particular round was unimpeachable. And he and Spiker worked together to deliver an incredible final moment.
Yeah, and I'll say it again, Parker. I said it earlier in the cast, but Kansan's #1 game, the best performance of his career, came at the Munich Major last season. It was a 15-2 map that he played up against none other than M80 themselves. So we know how good he can be when he plays up against this core here of M80. And he really does all the work necessary in that last round to keep them competitive on this second map. Gunner goes for a bit of a run out outside of Bakery. Had a target outside on the window, but unfortunately wasn't able to hit his shot. So back on the Solus, as we so commonly come to expect from him. Gets read a little bit by Wildcard, and they don't get hard punished by that. Bomb site top floor here as they work to try to clear the top couple of roamers.
Very patient play from Kansan now on this window. He almost died in the very first round of this second half, if you recall, when he was on rappel in a very similar position. He put himself in harm's way only so that he could pull off his hard breach. The X-Kairos is far and away the best hard breaching tool for long range. You are easily the safest that you can be, but you still have to expose yourself for just a period of time. Adrian dies, Ashen follows shortly thereafter. I feel like we've said this about 4 times in this particular series. Kansan will die shortly thereafter. So all the hard breach now gone from Wildcard, and I didn't get to see it, but Kansan still had 16 individual X-Kairos blasts in his pocket.
Yes.
You spawn in with 18, so he was only able to use 2. If that's correct, that is quite devastating for Wildcard. Gunner takes down one. Hot and Cold gets beaten by Bay. Bay was looking for another, but there is a fade away from M80 as now Spiker swings into the building. Spiker holding that defuse kit, looking to break double digits as he hunts down, along with his teammate, the 3 remaining players of M80. Not a lot of time to work with, Jesse. Only 40 seconds here. They might get another. Oh! Bay almost losing that engagement to Diffuser. 1 HP for Bay. Gavin goes for broke. Wins the engagement. Spiker in hot pursuit now, swinging towards the A bomb site, but he's running out of time. 20 seconds on the clock. Diffuse kit at the halfway point. Falls off, expecting M80 to be aggressive. Gunner wins the duel. And to series point, M80 go.
No doubt in my mind, Parker. Gunner is the best Solus player in North America. Such a high impact in that round, playing down to the bottom floor. They knew he was down there. They knew he was existing in Bakery because he went for the earlier run out, which missed. But eventually, he bides his time. He doesn't get cleared out. He says, wow, I'll do it again. Runs out Bakery for a second time. The second time he does it, he kills Kansan. That's how he goes down with 16 pellets still in his back pocket. It was a massive run out to come through from Gunner. And then eventually when they go to hunt him down, eventually when they go to try to refrag that kill, he is ready for it. He's watching. He gets his 10th kill of the game, managed to get a really massive pick, I believe on the Baby Shark, as he tried to push him down right there. Yes, on the bottom floor. So well done coming out from Sean. He gets one last one here, taking down Spiker in the 1v2 post-plant too. So, or not quite post-plant, but plant denial here from Gunner. Beautifully played. Pushes M80 onto series point. Will they get 2 opportunities to close it out?
The end of the road here in the upper bracket for Wildcard might be soon approaching. It has been a significantly improved Cafe over what we saw on Fortress, and I do have to wonder if part of it was just them taking some time to settle in, because they are playing much more confidently in their engagements. One thing that I didn't really want to mention in map number 1, just because we had so much to talk about, but also because it seems maybe a little bit simple, is that Wildcard were losing an uncharacteristically high number of gunfights. And again, we've said this every single cast. You can have all the strategy in the world, you can have the best ideas in the world, the perfect operator lineup, and if you just whiff your shots in 3 50-50 gunfights, next thing you know, it's a 5v2 for your opponents, and all the strategy in the world ain't gonna help you. Wildcard is hitting their shots a lot better here on Cafe. Now, it hasn't been perfect. There have still been some serious issues and maybe some shakes, but they are playing with more confidence. Could that have changed the fortunes on Fortress? Possibly. It's just one thing for Wildcard to keep in mind, and if they do go into that lower bracket up against Shopify Rebellion, they cannot get caught flat-footed so early.
Nice hacked drone from Hot and Cold. It does get shot out there, but the information remains. The C4 tossed off of it, but Spiker is able to survive. Bay shoots the Nitro too and can start this plant.
Oh, he's getting it down. Nobody's really watching. Bay from afar. He's good enough. They've lost it though. Spiker died. A devastating kill. Not enough coverage from Bay. They've still been able to find their licks here, Jesse, as they work through these M80 players. Objective be damned. The guns are doing what they need to do. This reinforces the point I was just making about how you just need to win your engagements. Worried about the Dokkaebi hack. Gunnar will take out some intel, then take out Adrian shortly thereafter. He's just playing these pixel angles. He doesn't have a lot of information, needs to be worried about that upstairs control. He hears somebody crawling around on the red stairs, 2 of them, in fact. Logic Bomb will give his position away. An ankle biter. Gunnar is shooting at the shins of multiple Wildcard players, but that MPX might as well be doing negative damage. One more round in regulation as Wildcard bring us to the brink.
Gunnar had the aura in the 1v4. That would have been so scary if he pulled it off. I thought maybe he could do it with his positioning, but Baby Shark is good enough to be able to hit that head. That's a really important kill, I think, both to keep Wildcard alive in this series, but also build a bit of that confidence back, Parker. I mean, you said it. There have been some missed shots on the side of Wildcard, but they were very good in that round to be able to force a 12th here inside of regulation. I really liked Bay's play in that early round too. I mean, we saw him on red stairs. He shoots the Nitro Cell, he shoots the hacked Mozzie cam, he shoots the player inside a train who's trying to stop that plant. The only player he's not able to shoot, of course, is the guy behind denying that plant. I believe it was Ashen who had eventually got that down onto Spiker, but just wasn't really an angle that he was able to catch inside of mining. So really good play from Bay early on in that push. The rush doesn't go exactly to plan for Wildcard, the most objective focused team actually that we have here in the North America League, but the kills are very good to follow it up, and it forces a tack timeout out from Fabian, hoping to end this one before we see extra innings.
Yeah, I mean, this is the time that you call it. At no point did I feel like, and I'm sure Fabian felt like this because he's significantly smarter than me and more experienced and more handsome, but at no point do I think that he thought M80 was in trouble. This is the point where M80's still not in trouble, but why save it for overtime when you might be? If there's one more round to go, or if there's something that he's assessing is the problem, or even if he's expecting overtime, this timeout can check all of those boxes. So he's a brilliant player. He's been a great coach so far. Lagonis, same thing on the side of Wildcard. And I mean, hey, Lagonis called his timeout.
10 seconds
And
remaining.
this Wildcard team has looked a lot better since then, even in the rounds they haven't won.
5 seconds left before insertion.
This is a good coaching matchup so far. It's obviously very challenging as an observer to see what the coaches do and to hear what the coaches do. But you've got 2 really strong IGLs, you've got 2 really strong coaches, and so far strategically, I'm liking what I'm seeing on Cafe. I liked a lot of the strategy on Fortress too. It was just a bit one-sided, but here on Cafe, far more even bout. And you can tell the coaches have a hand in that success for both of these teams.
Yeah, and even in this round, Parker, you see the impact of the coaches. Fabian calls for them to repeat the site. They go right back to mining and dining, playing the same site they just lost. What have they done differently? Well, they brought the Pulse, they brought the Solus. They brought good tools to deny the plant that they didn't have last time. But Wildcard, reading that that might be the case, have gone for a completely different operator lineup. Instead of rushing in for the B-bomb site again, they're going to be playing to try to clear out some of these top floor players before they go for that plant. So it's going to be very interesting to see how M80 tried to react to this. You can see the gunner was hoping for a run out with that air jab. He stalled at least momentarily. The logic bomb comes out, so does the snake, and the top floor will begin to get cleared.
And down goes Diffuser. Bay playing with all the confidence in the world now as he's got that ROU projector just concealing the top of red stairs should somebody want to go for a quick follow-up. Diffuser got caught in a compromising position on that top floor. I don't think he was expecting that drop with a minute off of the clock. I mean, hey, if you ever play on the top floor of Cafe, ooh, a nice read. You know that people can easily hot drop there, and you always have to be a little concerned. Gunner dies at the hands of Spiker. This is really just a fascinating one. Did he get the follow-up on Ashen? Gavin now dies here, and Wildcard in excellent position. We are looking at overtime. Map 3 becoming far more likely as every second ticks by. I don't know how I feel about an M80 clutch here. I don't even know if I could feel a single kill because it's flawlessly done by Wildcard to send us into extra innings.
And that's perfectly done, Parker. This is exactly what we've been waiting for from Wildcard, for them to be able to put their strats together, for their fraggers to start fragging. Baby Shark hit some brilliant shots at the end of that round. The information is flowing from the IGL of Spiker and from the rest of the team. They've got really good information as they go for that clear. And honestly, Parker, they just read that strategy so beautifully. You try to run things back, and Gunner goes for another run out with the Solus over towards Garage. He's been persistent on this operator, I gotta say. All throughout this Cafe map, he has been going for runouts, and if they fail, just going for them again. It was kind of readable on the side of Wildcard. They were predicting it, they were ready for it. They're not gonna get caught off guard like they did on previous attacks. Really clean stuff coming out from them. They're expecting every little move from M80, and they're hitting the shots when they matter. M80 floundering a bit now as they've given up this big lead, and Wildcard look more than ready to force a third.
Yeah, this is a totally different team that played those 8 rounds all the way back on Fortress. And I mean, I don't think it's really much of a consideration for this team at the time, but maybe what separates me from being a player is I'd be sitting there thinking, man, if we played like this on Fortress, we might be in a position to 2-0 them. It is nice to see, though, that Wildcard has that dog in them, has some fight left in them, because people were really quick to write their obituary after those first 4 days of kickoff. I think for good reason, because the team did not look all that strong, and more importantly, they have never been dominant within North America. But now we're starting to see the international Wildcard, the flourishes of aggression, the good coordination, the depth. Baby Shark had 0 kills, what, 7 rounds ago? Now he's at 10?
Yeah.
It's been a complete turnaround for this squad. While we were talking, Ashen went for a spawn peek. It's been a while since we saw a team do that in this matchup. He doesn't get anything. They saw him, he saw them, he gets away, no damage is done. But I like that style of play from M80. Get under the skin of Wildcard, do what you can to try to win.
Well, I think it's a sign that we're getting quite deep in the strat book here on Cafe, Parker. It's been such a fascinating map to watch between these two teams, dueling with different setups and different attacking strategies, and round 13 is no different. This is the only time we saw M80 defend this was when we saw the miraculous Kansan clutch shooting out the Yokai cam and winning the final 1v1. There will be no Yokais to shoot out this time as Hot and Cold moves to the Clash, and in response, Wildcard bring out the Fuse Shield from Spiker. So once they get this top floor control, and they mostly have it under wraps at this point, they can start doing serious work using these cluster charges to deal with some of the util inside the site, whether that's barbed wire or whether that's going to be maybe some of the, well, frankly, it might just be the barbed wire. They haven't really brought much else in terms of Goyo canisters and stuff like that, but the util clear will be there nonetheless. Wildcard will try to work with this clock as they go for a vertical push once more.
Fuse can be such a menace on this map. Shield or no shield, AK or no AK. So Spiker is trying to flush these defenders out and take down utility in the process. It did push Hot and Cold back into the spot where a lot of teams like to plant. That's by the espresso machines in the back of kitchen, not by the bomb chassis, which is the usual plant spot. You know, the one by freezer door. Default, as it is often referred to as. After those cluster charges have gone off, not a lot much has happened. This is a very slow-paced round. Finally, we see logic bombs. It's got this M80 defense on the move, and Gunnar hits Bay in a beautiful shot. He thinks otherwise, though. He should have not doubted himself. 3 kills for M80, answered back immediately by 2 from Wildcard. The Buck within range. They double up on him. Excellent coordination from Wildcard. Read so well. Kansan loses a lot of HP in the process. But when you rest your hopes on Kansan and Adrian, good things tend to happen. 3 kills for Adrian now, and Diffuser playing the long game, quite literally far back with the DMR in hand. Will have to clutch. They've given his position away. Diffuser getting planted by Kansan. Adrian is on the ground. Is Diffuser expecting this? Yes, he is. Can he do anything about Kansan in this position? No! Oh my word! Wildcard move to map point.
He is inevitable on that site, Parker. Kansan does it again. Another 1v1 clutch, attacking onto the bottom floor of Cafe. That's just his site. That's just his domain. That's his property there on the bottom floor of the map. Another push that seems like it's a disaster. M80 start with a massive man count lead. And then the best player from Florida steps up after the plant goes down, takes out Diffuser in the 1v1. This was really a disaster push. A 5v2 for a split second. But then the coordination between Adrian and Kansan to isolate those picks, go 1 for 1 for 1. And then the fact that he hits that one bullet sent out is all he needs. Head in hands for Gunnar. He's got 13 frags this game, Parker, but it might not matter if they can't win the next 2.
Just an unbelievable map so far. Our best map of the day, one of the best maps that we've seen here in Kickoff, and frankly, this is probably the best map that you and I have casted since the Kickoff began. There's still plenty of time for that to change. We have 3 more days of North American Siege in front of our very eyes. Tomorrow, we will have more playoff matches. Teams will start to get qualified for the Salt Lake City Major. North America is a little bit behind all the other regions in terms of their schedule. I don't think all the APAC teams or the Chinese teams are fully locked. You can correct me on that. The time zone makes it a bit of a challenge. All of the EML and South American teams, aka the 4 teams from Brazil, they've all qualified, so they know they're waiting. They can start their boot camps, they can start their scrims and prepare. But as for this region in particular, North America taking their sweet time, as we always like to. And I look at the teams that are still in this bracket, and I think there's a lot of good Siege ahead of us. And there might still be great Siege here too. We might actually need Chalet between these 2 teams, which seemed unthinkable even 30 minutes ago, let alone an hour ago, when M80 destroyed this Wildcard team. 1 round now for Wildcard to send us over to Chalet.
Well, the major champions will know how to keep themselves composed up against some miraculous rounds from Wildcard. They will have to dig deep to be able to pull these next 2 rounds out and close out the series without needing that 3rd. Wildcard in a great position here on the defense. They've got their top floor set up, still mostly intact. Kansan on these mirror windows to set things up nicely with Baby Shark and Bay playing around him up on the top floor. M80 have got good utility to try to clear out some of this util too. The Selma charge will likely grab that first Selma, although it might have actually just been shot off, so never mind. The mirror window remains here looking into Piano, and it just becomes even more awkward as the seconds tick by. How will M80 take this space on the top floor? How will they manage to clear through this roam game and take the map control that they're looking for?
Reloading.
Oh, I fall off now. A very tense moment for these teams, and there still might be more to go between them. Playing as if a spot is directly on the line. Both of these teams will still be in action no matter what happens here. Uncold suffering through it. He's had a bit of a rough game, but if anybody on the side of M80 is going to have a rough game, you probably want it to be him. His fortunes don't get any better as he walks into a razor bloom after getting picked back up. And he is down for the count. Gavin will grab the diffuser. Heir apparent, I suppose, on that roll. Final 40 seconds here. Wildcard with a 1-player advantage.
Yeah, impacts, nitros, there's a lot to deny this plant, Parker. They will need to go in and push for kills. If they can't get this long angle plant going down inside of reading, I mean, it could be very devastating for M80's chances.
Yeah, I think M80's playing a little bit scared, almost like the pressure is getting to them, which for a team that has won a major is an insane thing to say. This isn't even do or die. A bit of an issue for Ashen as he gets the read down in reading room. Baby Shark on the board. Gunner trades one out. There's Ashen, but he's traded out by Baby Shark again. Wild card, get it done and send us to map 3. He's still defending major champions because SI is not a major.
Yes.
Or is it Wild Card, a team that has a bit of a new look, like M80, but has never done as well domestically as they've done internationally? This one's going to be a dogfight, Jesse.
Yeah, it's incredible that we're even here. Wildcard had to battle so hard just to force this third map, but they've done it, and we get to play a best of one, as you said, for a spot deeper in the brackets. If you win this game, you have 2 opportunities, 2 best of 3s, where you only need to win 1 in order to make it to Salt Lake City. So this is a critical game in order to put yourself up in a good spot to make it to the major. Chalet, not a map that either of these teams have played since their respective roster moves. Historically, it has favored M80, though, winning it a couple of times back during SI and, of course, through Stage 2 as well. Wildcard haven't won this map in over 6 months, losing in that time to both M80 and FaZe Clan. So hopefully the practice they've been putting into this map will pay off, and they can show us exactly why they forced this third map in the first place.
Well, I mean, don't tell Wildcard that the odds are stacked against them, because they completely bottled their own map and have made this the most difficult best of 3 humanly possible. The only way this could have gone worse is if they lost the only round they won back on map number 1. So this Wildcard team has taken some time to settle in. And again, this is a very good reminder for people that the kickoff was only 4 best of 1s through the groups. That is not a lot of time for a new roster to gel. Certainly not a lot of time to get used to a new meta, a meta that is still steadily evolving. So Wildcard just needed, I guess, to settle in. Or maybe they will completely implode here and it'll be another 7-1 for M80, and that cafe will look like an aberration more than anything else. Who knows? Let's get into the match, because theory crafting will only get us so far. Let's see the actual practical application for these teams.
My eyes are really going to be on Baby Shark for this map, Parker. I mean, he really did struggle. He was the lowest rated player in the upper bracket before today began, but finally was able to come alive inside a cafe. It was a huge reason why they were able to win that map, and now has an opportunity to do so once again here on Chalet. Ashen is the first one to go down. It's Adrian who continues his streak of early opening picks on all 3 maps. Finds the tuber out early from the outside position and will start to pressure M80 as they now go into a 1-man disadvantage. Top floor under their control, but a duel down towards the basement, potentially brewing if Baby Shark can find a player down there.
Adrian, Mr. Start of the round. He's been involved in so many of these opening duels. Obviously, that's his role. He's going to be the first point of contact for this wildcard team, but he's been very, very good so far today on entries. He's been able to find an entry kill on all 3 maps now. That's something that not a lot of players, frankly, can say. So shout out to Adrian for that. He's had to adjust to this wildcard team, and, well, the man that I've seen having the hardest time adjusting has been Baby Shark, and he really picked it up on map number 2. If he can carry that strong play over here on map 3, will absolutely give Wildcard a fighting chance round after round.
Like the map control so far from Wildcard, they've taken over towards Piano. They've taken a lot of this top floor. It's really just Library that they don't have control of, but Gavin persists here inside of Library entrance. Diffuser on the stairs trying to support. A lot of these dread mines will keep him safe. If they try to push down through Case's hallways, he's got some good fights, but his teammate dies and he's left all alone, forced to fall back to the bomb site with the final 45.
Gunner, the only player of M80 so far to strike on the board, and he's been finished off as is Hot, and now it's Diffuser to get nothing done. Baby Shark with those final 2 kills. I said his name, and it immediately pays off, making me look a little bit smarter than usual. Huge round from Wildcard, and they just got into the building with no fear. M80 have completely fallen apart. You have to somehow fix this momentum that is purely in your head, but is letting you down.
Baffled that you just blatantly stole my Baby Shark point seconds after I say it, and now you're the one looking smart for it. I don't know about that one, but I'll let it slide. As long as you invite me.
We're talking about Baby Shark.
Raise the blue mouse.
Okay.
Baffled by
Invite-
this. You know what?
invite me,
what's
invite
baffling?
me,
You know what's
invite
baffling
me,
to me? You know what's
invite me,
baffling to me? The
invite me.
fact that you don't get to watch the Edmonton Oilers play.
I get to watch Wildcard M80, Parker. That's far better because the
Are you
level
a
of
fan
play.
of either of these teams? Like you're a fan of the Edmonton Oilers? Is
I'm a
Connor
fan of
McDavid
Baby Shark.
shooting up on one of these squads? No.
I'm a fan of Baby Shark and the performance that he's been putting up, as I've been talking about throughout this series. Didn't have the strongest of starts, but really came alive again. 12 kills on map 2. Now starts off 2-0 here on map 3 for Wildcard, and I think it really just does come down to how the rest of the team is able to pressure the players into him and assist him as they try to go for some of these pushes. He's always been that lurk player for Wildcard, not necessarily with the rest of the team, not necessarily getting into those gunfights directly where we expect from him, but lurking in through the basement, finding his way up, catching these roamers off guard and pressuring them as they get pushed back from the site pushers. It's been really impressive to see from him, and Wildcard looking clean on that first chalet attack.
You know, I often call Baby Shark the Connor McDavid of Rainbow Six Siege.
Cast the game.
So maybe it is like you're watching the Edmonton Oilers. Hey, you want to know something funny about Wildcard and the Edmonton Oilers? They've both won the same amount of Stanley Cups in the last 10 years.
It's an interesting cutoff.
Okay, 20 years. Sorry, 30 years. This is actually going to make him mad outside of the broadcast, and I am all here for it. Anyway, 1 minute off of this second round. A terrific start from Wildcard. Everybody doing their part. Didn't really need much objective play because they just demolished these M80 players as they walked into the building. Spiker's in the bomb site with over half of the round still to go. He gets gunned down. My, oh my. How long has it been since they've won this map, Jesse? That was a bad one. That is almost entirely on Bay not being able to deal with Gavin, who still has half of his HP. Bay's got to be hitting shots better than that because you've now completely blown the round open. That's really quite unfortunate. Everything looked like it was working for Wildcard. Adrian now empty-handed. The diffuser dropped in the bomb site. Unless M80 completely bottle this, it should be over. The defenders can just close in on the defuse kit. Sorry, I forgot that Kansan just kills everybody in puzzling ways. My apologies, chat.
Open to be able to collect this one back. Never count out Kansan, and especially with how Baby Shark's been playing, this team's still in it 2v2. Baby Shark facing off against Ashen on the top floor. He's got good information thanks to some of these drones. We'll try to use the Ram to clear out a little bit more of this utility. Find out some of this vert pressure. They do spot out Baby Shark now, so this can force the 1v1. Spot out Ashen, I should say. Baby Shark with that information. Kansan down to the bottom floor. He's going to have to be the one to retrieve the diffuser and start on with this plant. If they can get it and start that hit inside of B, it could be big for them.
It's been a complete swap now as M80 was holding this B chassis part of the map and have now fallen a little bit farther back. ACOG's aplenty for these Wildcard players. They can lock this one down. An astonishing result if they end up winning. It all comes down to Kansan yet again. 10 seconds. Ashen is from above. You're going to have to plant this one and see what he chooses to do. Kansan sticking through it, shot it through the wall. They know Ashen's position now, but Kansan doesn't have a choice. No way he'll be able to get this kill. He's just got to stick the landing. Ashen dropping with the shotgun through the wall. Yeah, Kansan, you tried really hard, but a lot of that really falls on that gunfight at the door. Spiker had full trust that the Ella would die when he did not die. When Gavin was allowed to stay in that position, it completely knocked the round on its head. A frustrating spot for Wildcard to be in, but you literally saw how one small misread and one small mistake snowballs into something much larger. It was still a very scary round for M80. Let's not kid ourselves here, Jesse.
Yeah, unfortunately just couldn't quite get the job done. Bay finds the opening pick onto Hot and Cold, but then he's reloading with his pistol, and he doesn't have nades. That's kind of the biggest thing, Parker. Usually with Damos players, you'll see those nades trying to force a player out of position, but he brought the can openers instead. Didn't get any value out of that secondary gadget. Unfortunately, just kind of lowers the man count then on the side of M80. They're able to play the time really nicely. Ashen never overextends inside of Solar, never extending on the side of Gavin either, just inside the bomb site, letting the time tick down. We entered that 2v2 with over a minute still on the clock, but despite that, the time was the biggest problem. Couldn't work with it, couldn't try to find picks into that 2v2 situation, and unfortunately just let the round slip away from them a little bit there.
really quite devastating stuff. But
Attackers are moving out to locate a bomb
again,
and defuse
this map has had this match, in fact, is just about everything, Jesse. And I mean, it's late for us. It's late for the studio in Copenhagen. Big respect to our production team currently working at 5?
Nearly.
47? 447, something like that. It's quite late for our production team working out of Copenhagen, and of course also to our desk, also situated over there. It's a beautiful studio. We of course are working remote, so we're a bit privileged here in that regard. And of course, thanks to you for still tuning in. We're hoping to send you away with a very intriguing match, and so far this best of 3 has given us just about everything. We haven't had an ace yet. I suppose that's one thing that's missing, and there hasn't been a team kill. I'm going to start checking those off the boxes, but gameplay has continued to steadily improve, and we are only 2 rounds in through Chalet, and it has already been quite an unpredictable affair. Spiker attempting to slingshot, has an Amaru in towards B-bomb, gets gunned down immediately by M80. That's the defuse kit dropped as well, yet again. Wildcard, come on.
I mean, you see the power of the Thorn there, Parker. The barbed wire plus Gadget makes it impossible to try to make that space. The gunfight's so free for Gunner to be able to swing out and take that pick. Another one from Diffuser now is getting in the building has proven to be such a difficult concept for Wildcard. It's Adrian smoked off the big window, and he had some interesting sense walls that are being set up, but unfortunately, I just don't think we're going to get to see the result of it. He's dead now. He can't bring those walls to come up. And they're just battling out for these fights. Not enough information. Gavin finds Baby Shark, and with over 1:20 still on the clock, they've got 5 kills to find and just 2 bodies to use it.
Cans on the vault in, caught by the cross. M80 looking far more poised on this round than what we saw previously. No real mistakes being committed here. Wildcard left to just bay, and I mean, what are you gonna do, right? 1 minute to go. They hear that defuse kit going down. The 4 remaining players on the side of M80 just need to sit and wait. Excellent patience, a pop-up from Diffuser. Maybe sit and wait's not the ultimate goal. They've got some smiles on their faces, so the mental's not chalked just yet. M80 regains the lead.
I'm sad we didn't get to see more of that push coming through, Parker, from Wildcard. It felt like it had some really interesting bones to it, but I think Spiker maybe just a little ahead of his teammates. He goes for that rappel into Solar, I guess thinking it was clear or thinking he had more coverage than he did. Under the cover of the Lion scan, he does his best to just jump in through the Solar window, but it does get red. There's too much util, and he's not really got anybody with him. So a bit of an awkward death to come out from Spiker that really just started that round off on the wrong foot for Wildcard. Something to think about, something that they can reset, and they actually do call attack timeout here. I was a little curious if they would, just because these last couple of rounds have gone so poorly for them, especially that last one. Clearly, Lagonis is wanting to use these attack timeouts early, hoping that he can fix these problems before they start to spiral into even bigger ones, deciding that now is the proper time, down just 2-1 to M80, to use this tactical timeout.
Early timeouts, again, could be called for a variety of reasons, and we can speculate. In fact, well, we're paid to speculate, actually. It's a really great thing. We can talk about what we think is going on with these teams and these players. Wildcard have had a really rough best of 3. Obviously, it's been papered over a little bit by the results of map number 2. But this is still a team that is having issues. You saw it in round number 2. They probably should be up right now in this round count. But small mistakes can lead to such larger consequences and damning results. That's what happened. That particular round went bad for Wildcard as well in a hurry. So if you're seeing these small little missteps, say you call them 1,000 cuts, death by 1,000 cuts is still death. It doesn't matter how many cuts you get or how inconsequential they seem. So trust in Lagonis to be able to settle this team down, talk them through the strategy. This is not a very familiar map for Wildcard. You said it yourself before we even played a single round. So there is going to be some, I don't know, some onboarding that needs to be done, some learning on the go. Wildcard showed up better on Chalet than I expected, Jesse. So call the timeout. Your hope is that when you call that timeout, they play even better than they already are so far.
We'll go back to Barring Games, Parker, as we go through this second quarter. They banned out both the Deimos and the Ela. The Deimos been such a consistent staple for Wildcard. It was actually Baby Shark who played it back in round number 1. So he moves over to the Snake, can do much the same job as that Deimos, gathering information, giving yourself advantageous fights as you start to work with that intel to get yourself the frags. The drones are good too. We're seeing a little bit of information being fed by that. Gunner spot inside of dining being given away as the drones were able to spot him out. There is a site utility they've got to worry about. Of course, that mirror window that we saw being set up by Hot and Cold is going to mean that they can't just fly into the bomb site, fly in as they tried to back in round number 3. But with all this information, the drones coming through, and of course the snake scan soon to follow, I like Wildcard's chances of getting this opening pick.
Glad Baby Shark has woken up on this team and now playing a very important operator from an information perspective. Usually you will see defenders playing very close to windows and doors. Snake counters them so well, but guess what he doesn't do? He doesn't counter Davin when he pulls his brain out of his head and jumps out of a window. Down goes Baby Shark. The Snake is no more. You spend, what, 20 seconds hyping up Baby Shark on Snake? All for naught. It's a bummer.
Oh, Gavin's such a smart play to be able to take him down there, just catching him off guard as he's busy fighting the guy inside of office. That's that team play that we expect from M80. Now with 5 players still alive, they will toss the Nitro straight out the window and hit Spiker in the shield, and well, he's fine, still half HP, but now a little bit more vulnerable. There is a second Nitro being held by Diffuser, and as they try to toss these nades in, it's actually a reposition from Hot and Cold that gets punished, and they're in the building.
Oh, Spiker was so close to finding safe pasture to get that Diffuser down, and now it's a litany of targets, but only one can be found. M80 still with the advantage. Diffuser maybe a bit out of reach. That's the case, not the player, as Diffuser guns down Adrian. Try not to be too confused. Kansan all alone yet again, watching as his team gets felled player by player. His job was to sit and wait, but what are you waiting for when everybody is dead? He'll give it the old college try. Maybe. He's just wasting time. They just called their timeout, so there is potential here for them to still talk through some of this, albeit not with their coach of Lagonis, but maybe workshop it as some players. It doesn't seem like Kansan is going to give this a serious attempt. He trades, so it'll be good for the stats, but M80 in control of these last couple rounds. Errors being committed by Wildcard, pounced upon by the defending major champs.
Yeah, errors being committed. Another way to say that would be you are copper. Those are the words that were chosen by Diffuser in the midst of that round, Parker. And I think part of it just comes down to these thorn traps. Consistently now, back-to-back rounds, we've seen Spiker just jump right into a window that does have a thorn trap on it. That time when the Blackbeard, it ended up being his demise. It plus the barbed wire probably would have been his demise last round 2 and round number 3 if he wasn't killed by Gunner so quickly. But it's kind of this lack of util clear that even when you have the nades, even when you're on the Blackbeard, you have the tools to clear out some of this that is kind of tripping up from Wildcard. Just these mistakes that you don't really expect to see coming through, and then of course that kill over towards Blue Stairs as well. One where Diffuser's feeling pretty confident in himself. We've seen some really nice play coming out from M80, but it also just feels like Wildcard a slight step back from what we were witnessing towards the end of Cafe. They need to get themselves back in this game because we're used to seeing a lot better from them.
Used to being map 2 or used to being farther out?
Map 2 in last season. Bit of column A, bit of column B.
That's fair. It was always going to be an uphill battle for this Wildcard team just based on the history that they have in their region, right? We highlighted it in map 1. We talked about it in map 2. We might as well bring it up here in map 3 just for the people who haven't been listening since the start. Wildcard has always domestically, and this is the point I want to put emphasis on, domestically they have struggled. Struggle usually means they're somewhere between 4th, 5th, and 6th. When they get to an event internationally, they do really, really well. Getting there is the bigger struggle than succeeding at the event. Now, usually that's a very good problem to have, but for Kickoff, it's a terrible problem to have because the runway to land this thing is so short. And for a team that usually needs that long runway to prove they're one of the best, they're going to have to be better immediately. Now, Wildcard obviously didn't get that memo back in map number 1, but they made the upper bracket. So they are doing something right, and they're still adjusting to this player of Adrian, who, for the record, has looked mighty good. They're going to get a leg up now as Gavin gets a little bit irritable, jumps out, dies to a Claymore. So the first kill for Wildcard comes in maybe unexpected fashion here. They've taken the Thorn down. Now it's a run out from Hot and Cold. He won't find anything. A lot of gumption on the side of this M80 team, but they're not finding any success.
Yeah, struggling with it there. Gavin ended up jumping out of games as that opening death, but it's Baby Shark with a technical second, the Claymore for the first, and now the gun rings out to find Gunner. The Fuser's position was given away long ago, and finally will be capitalized on. Baby Shark thriving in this high info environment, and it is a clean sweep, a flawless round for Wildcard as they get themselves back in this game. The information so much better that time, Parker. They had all the drones, they had the Claymores, they had the util, and they will walk away with a round win because of it.
This seesaw match is going to continue, and I mean, hey, kudos to all the teams that are competing so far. Our first series of the day, very evenly matched, and here we are seeing the same thing again. I do kind of wish we could have seen a more competitive first map, but I think it just adds to the overall story. And do keep in mind that second round that Wildcard did ultimately end up losing when, if you remember, Bay and Spiker both died to Gavin on that door. This could easily be a Wildcard lead here on this map. So still a lot more to go. We're about a solid, we might even be halfway towards the end of this map, but Sideswap is about to come in, and I am fascinated to see if we end up with a 3-3 and end up with neither team any closer to a conclusion. It really is incumbent in my mind upon Wildcard not making a lot of mistakes, because of these two teams so far, they have committed far more mistakes than M80 through these 5, now 6 active rounds.
Yeah, make sure to see what lessons M80 learned from that previous round too. You know, they were playing quite aggro over towards Solar. They were getting burned out by Capital bolts. They were running out into Claymores. I would expect after that result to see them rein things in a little bit, to see them play things a little bit more passive. They are holding with 4 out of 5 players up towards that top floor. Gavin probably the farthest from sight. Just on the other side of this window from Baby Shark, he is inside a back bar in a position where maybe he could try to go for an early gunfight, try to get aggressive, but most of these players pushing have actually focused their attention over towards Solar, wanting to go more direct to sight, not thinking that the engaging back with these roamers is going to play into their hand. With Kanzi being on that gridlock down below, it's going to make flanking from Gavin or anyone else very, very difficult. Kanzi can kind of just sit down here for free, play with the shotgun, start working the vert. It'll counter this bandit that's being played by Gunner just on side of the master wall over towards Solar, and will also start to counter some of these other positions of the players inside a bathroom or inside a master.
You really don't see a lot of bandit on this bomb site, Jesse.
Yeah.
It's a bit odd. You see bandit across a couple maps, but usually Kaid is the go-to electrification. We don't even see a lot of Kaid these days, for crying out loud. It's just, breaching is not the be-all, end-all like it used to be, so breach denial is not the be-all, end-all. Fascinating still to see how Gunner pilots this operator. Hot and Cold, the only player in the lobby yet to get a kill. He had a pretty weak second map from a fragging perspective. Hotton, highly touted for his IGL skills, not really known for tons of kills in that role, though he can go back and forth. Nitro Cell gets dropped. First kill is onto Gavin. Now Gunner taking some damage. He's finished off. Wildcard looking so formidable outside of the building.
Another nade.
It gets better.
Oh boy. 2 players left alive now inside of M80 to try to clutch this back. Over 60 seconds to work with too. The bullets are flying, your teammates are dead. Hot and Cold, good luck. A nice swing at a big window. That's the start to a 1v5.
Oh. It's a start. The finish is the OV4 Wildcard. In control of these last 2 rounds. Halfway point. 3-3 for both of these teams. Now, again, you can dive into whether the attackers or defenders have a leg up here on Chalet, but these have been very evenly matched rounds, back and forth. Nobody the clear victor through 6.
Well, Parker, we've got our desk to break down those first 6 and tell us who they think is clearly in the lead.
Clearly in the lead. I don't know if we have that in us right now, Jesse. I mean, thinking about where we started our first halftime break on map 1, we said, why are we even here? This isn't a halftime break. The game might as well be over. It was 6-0 at that point. Here we are, lacks a map and a half later. And it is, I mean, what, 3-3? A complete coin flip.
I mean, for a viewer, this is what you'd love to see, especially if you're excited for both these teams to get to the very last map, and it is a battle of attrition. Who is controlling that tempo? Who has that momentum? Who's able to shift and adapt better? And so far, what we've seen in the latter half, we are seeing Wildcard adapt a lot better. And I'd agree with Jesse. You know, what we saw in that round 5 was M80 getting too aggressive, which was allowing Wildcard to get these free picks where they would ultimately close the round in a flawless half. And I completely agree with Jesse that maybe we dial it back a little bit. We play a little more passive. Let's play our crossfires, play our layers. And sure enough, Wildcard takes their time, uses the time against M80, and understands, okay, if they don't want to play aggressive, they don't want to peek into us, let's force them into our gunfire. Let's force them into crossfires, using that Capital, just oppressing them left and right. So if I had to say at the end of this half and how those last 2 rounds played out, I would be on the edge that Wildcard has the favor going into this next half.
I do agree. I think the map itself is a lot different, a lot more difficult to be able to defend on comfortably as opposed to a map like Fortress. You can't really add layers, but still, even then, it looks like M80 is still very flustered from that map 2 loss. It seems like they're going for a lot of aggressive fights, the fights that they are losing, and sometimes when Wildcard are winning these rounds dominantly, those last 2 rounds, it just looks like M80's losing 1 kill to just and bleeding and hemorrhaging kills. And I think that's the biggest issue for M80 going forward. Sides swapping, Wildcard is on the defense. It seems like they have a really good understanding. They're calm. They have the momentum in their favor. M80's only hope, in my opinion, is if they can really shake off the fact that they lost and really try to out-counter. I mean, it goes without saying, Hot and Cold, being the IGL, he only got his first kill in that last round. So that being said, you can tell from their gameplay and from the way that they are performing, it looks like they're still shaken up.
So it sounds like, Lax, at least you gave a definitive, you think Wildcard have this? Fox, where do you fall?
Well, I don't want to say they have it, but I think just going into the second half, they're going to be a lot more comfortable.
I think if there's a team to get overconfident and start losing and hemorrhaging rounds after mistakes, I feel like it would be M80. So I think it's safe to say that I believe Wildcard could run away with it in this half.
All right, well, I think we have our answer, Jesse. The momentum seems like it's on the side of Wildcard. 3-3, though, as we said, basically a coin flip going into these final few rounds, but exactly what you want to see in a playoff match like this.
Very well put. A battle of the Titans. And I mean, you're at the very final halftime of tonight's broadcast. And of course, neither team is closer to victory. If you are here, neither a fan or a fan of neither team, you are treated to some really great Siege. Cafe, excellent. Chalet, definitely shaping up to be cut from that same cloth. Just don't bother to go back and watch Fortress again unless you happen to love M80 an awful lot. Then watch it as much as you want. Heck, you can do whatever.
Yeah. How? Okay.
The textures in this game are kind of funny. So some of them you can throw Val cams on, some of them you can shoot those drones at. I think he's worried that somebody has hidden a drone in there, and I think that's the right call. He did actually catch a drone.
Yes. Yeah, he caught a drone in those plants. He caught it when he threw it the second time, so he will have that information to play with. A little bit awkward. It bounced off the first time around, but he's fine. He's got the info he wants, and now Baby Shark can position that drone wherever he wants. It looks like he's driving it up towards Mez at the moment, so can really use this to try to catch the attackers off guard, maybe enable some aggressive moves from these other wildcard roamers. Oh, or it'll just immediately get shot. Never mind.
So much of this series has been us calling what happens 95% of the times and then watching as the 5% of the time unfolds in front of our eyes.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think he caught that Brava drone. It's not showing up on the HUD, so there was maybe some opportunity for another hack to come through, but not to be for Baby Shark. Bit of a long series, bit of a goofy one, but it has been entertaining from start to finish. Now they've got to find some way to break through onto these defenders. You see the setup over towards Piano. Bay here positioned himself behind the shield, not far away from his teammate over on the tuber out. Adrian also in an aggressive spot. And around those top floor roamers, you see so much aggression from top to bottom.
Ashen will find Bay. I'm not really sure where that Denari was. Oh, Ashen's found his way in. Okay, perfect. He's up top by Piano. Might have another over by Bathroom, but he doesn't get there fast enough. What are these comms from Wildcard? Ashen was allowed to exist there for 10 plus seconds, and nobody called that one out. Adrian looking in the complete wrong direction. Spiker will get one kill with the Nitro Cell, and now he has to hang on for dear hope. Gavin is also downed. Retrieved now by one of the two remaining M80 players. Look at this Denari setup.
Yeah, that's so cool. Walks off that office doorway. There's no shot that you're destroying that tripwire from down below at least, so it makes it very tough to walk in through office.
You stop for a second here and think about this particular part of the map. This is also where the electric claws will go to electrify the garage door underneath that people don't think about. Or rather, sorry, the wall underneath that people don't think about. And now you've got the Denari trips as well. This is a really precarious spot for Spiker. I don't know if he's able to make it out of here alive. No, not at all. He was getting pinched from the kitchen door and then down Solarium stairs. He was finished off either way. M80 do not look particularly happy. Certainly not the level of vibes that they had even 10 minutes ago, let alone on the previous map here. And I think for good reason. They could have closed this one out in 2. They watched it slip through their fingers, and now they're fighting for their lives on map number 3. They've got the lead, though, as they take the first round of the second half.
Yeah, I think that's key. Despite the vibes, they did look quite well in that push, and it all falls back to Ashen. Got just 3 kills in the first half and will double his total in just the first round of the second half. Be able to get another triple kill. He knew that there was the Denari set up inside a piano. We saw it with that deployable shield. Walks in, gets that kill, immediately flicks behind because he knows Baby Shark is roaming down over towards the bottom of blue stairs. Gets the second kill, and then the final player, just Adrian inside of office. He's got a million different angles to look at. I believe he was distracted by hot and cold just inside the master bedroom. So when Ashen walks in the office door, ends up being a freebie for him to cap off that nice little 3K. And when you've got a Snake player like Ashen, who is so good at gathering that information and then using it to get a multitude of kills, it really can crack the defense wide open. Wildcard spent a lot of that early round hunting for an early pick, hunting for that aggressive play that will give them the edge, but it was Ashen who ended up finding it and gives his team the lead because of it.
A series so far that's been defined by a lot of things. Some sloppy play, teams figuring each other out as it goes on a little bit longer, great individual performances, the yo-yo effect of some of these players, Baby Shark having a terrible game, bouncing back to almost top fragging on his team, Spiker carrying the way but now taking more of a back seat. We've been all over the place. Quite the journey here through these 3 maps, and it has been a really special series, and it's not for a direct playoff spot. So you have to imagine that when the stakes get higher, the games will only improve. Dark Zero awaits the winner of this series, and then the winner of that series gets a spot at the Salt Lake City Major. The loser here does not go home. The loser here goes down into the lower bracket to start their lower bracket run for one of those 4 spots, and will have their hands full against Shopify Rebellion in a matchup that I imagine has to be very, very interesting to watch, irrespective of which of these teams win. This is a quick one by M80. They've made their way into back bar. Ashen and Gunner taking no prisoners. Diffuser goes down. Wildcard will now trail by 2 players and find themselves in the worst spot possible. Down in numbers while you've lost control of the bomb site. Round is on the line. Ashen shaken off of his spot. They do manage to get 1 kill on Wildcard's side. But 1 kill over the span of 20 seconds ain't gonna get the job done, Jesse, when there's still 4 other players to go. And that big window will be the greater issue. No opportunity to long arm. They all trickle in, and M80 will greet them one by one to go up by 2. 5-3, the score line so far. M80 perfect on the second half.
It's been Ashen's initiative that has really changed the pace of this game for me, Parker. He has once again been able to jump in the building, cause a distraction, be the focal point of all of those defenders, and enable this team to be able to get in, get that plant. First time he did it on the Snake, little 3K, gets the frags. This time he only gets 1 kill for his trouble, but he's that guy on the blitz, jumping in through the window, distracting the smoke of Adrian, who was the one player that was still on the bomb sites, which allows Hot and Cold to jump in and get that plant then on the Capitao. Everybody else on that rush holding either out through the game's window or up above the library windows. You saw Gunner get that opening pick, of course, onto Spiker, who is roaming all the way over towards Office. Felt like the information was so clean there from M80, and despite the fact that Adrian was sitting in the site, they said, we don't really care. We're going to send it in. We're going to force you out of this position. Ashen was able to gun him down with the pistol on that blitz, and it just made all the difference in the world. These pushes have been so decisive from M80. Wildcard need to find some way to shut them down, and they're running out of time to find that solution.
And they already used their timeout yet again. Both of these times that the Wildcard timeouts have come have been so early in the game that you can't diagnose these issues with your coach in the midst of it, right? This is quite devastating for them. And granted, they do get the timeout now in the middle of the game at halftime, so they are at least able to do that, but it's a rough spot to be in if you're Wildcard. You've just got to go with the flow, and hope that you can figure it out. Good drone work now from M80 as we turn our sights towards round number 9, and M80 succeed here. Oh, that might be the end of it for Wildcard. A vault in, Spiker's unable to stop it. Nitro Cell goes out, doesn't connect. It does some serious damage, doesn't find any casualties. Diffuser, the first one on M80 in the ground, but Spiker died shortly before that. Hot and Cold on the board now, gunning down Kansan. This attack towards the kitchen side was down on that main floor through trophy window. Once they clear that, then they can think about next steps up Solarium stairs.
Got really messy. Kansan dropped the hatch through master to kitchen to try to help out his roamer of Spiker down below the site, but unfortunately all it resulted in was his own demise. A little bit of a scary roam early game coming out from Wildcard as they lose that man advantage. They've got Bay here on the Clash, but as a Clash, you kind of have to bring the gun up now that you're in a man count disadvantage, because if you just play that shield, well, now it's a 2v4 on the guns. 2v3, I suppose, with Hot and Cold also bringing out that shield, but it's going to be in an awkward situation regardless. These last 3 players on Wildcard are desperate to continue to waste down this time. Bay very aggressive, still playing on these solar stairs, somewhat isolated from his 2 teammates. But he gets one regardless on a Gavin, and the C4 will give the man advantage. Okay, we're back in it.
What happened here? When we talk about these rounds having just about everything, my goodness, Jesse. Wildcard went from an incredibly weak position to now being the favorites to win this one out. Hot and Cold will need Gunnar as his lone escort. Gunnar's been having a good day. Gunnar's also got the F2. Gunnar can also kill Adrian here, but he needs more information. He's let him slip on by. Great read. Good patience by Gunnar. Could find 2. He'll do just that. But he's watched Hot and Cold die. Out will come the scanner, and he's got a read. He knows that he's being watched, so it'll just be a straight up 50-50. Are you feeling lucky? Bay is. Bay wins, breaking the run that we saw from M80. The gap is now just 1 round. M80 still in control, but Wildcard coming for that lead.
Jacob Dowling from Quincy, Illinois does it in the 1v1. Big round from Bay coming out to shut down Gunnar. It looked like it was gonna all fall into place. The pieces lining up for M80, but unfortunately it's just that 1v1 from the Clash that comes out big time, and I'm shocked that they were even in that position once again, Parker. It felt like M80 had the Clash dead to rights, pinned down there on the solar stairs, but Bay somehow fights his way out of it, found ahead of Gavin down there on the bottom floor. At the same time, the Nitro alleviates the pressure from up above, clears the player off the solar window, sets him up to be able to be in that clutch position. You'll see it now. Here's the Nitro from Adrian. There's that kill from Bay on the left side of your screen too, as he able to get that kill. It is beautiful from Gunnar, making his entry in through the office door, but at the end of the day, the trade is better from Bay. It is a perfect swing. It's a perfect shot with the SMG, and Wildcard still in this game.
Running out of things to talk about in this matchup, and ways to address these 2 teams and these individual performances. It's just been an incredible run. Wildcard are improving in front of our very eyes. And again, I go back to that 1 round. It could be a Wildcard lead. So the scoreline really does reflect how close this has been. It feels like a completely different day than when we started this series and M80 dog walked Wildcard 7-1. So kudos to them for sticking through it. Keep in mind, about an hour and a half ago, or about an hour ago, give or take, depending on your timeline here, it was 5-2 M80 on map 2. We were 6 minutes away from this being done and M80 taking a triumphant 2-0 victory. And it could very easily be Wildcard who ends up winning this best of 3, which is an insane thing to say, but it really does go to show you why we play matches in the server and not on paper. And you get Gunnar, who decides to walk in, droned in, but they haven't droned the whole way. Baby Shark hits them and then goes for the home run. Away he goes, and M80 suffers the first loss of the round.
Well, he might have had the same gun, but unfortunately, the Twitch is not the snake, and without that extra information, Gunnar's just not in an advantageous spot. Doesn't know of Baby Shark's position over towards the stairs. It's crazy how much of an impact one ban will make, but removing that off the board is just giving Wildcard that extra edge, that extra bit of intel denial that they need to be able to get that opening pick, work themselves into an advantage. It's the first opening pick that they've gotten through this second half. It's been very consistent for M80 getting these early round victories, but this time around, Baby Shark strikes back. His third opening pick of the map, by the way. He's been very good with it, even though most of them came in that first half.
They don't expect that peek from Spiker on the stairs. He goes for the swing, blanketing it with the gas. He had that other Toxic Babe in hand. It doesn't look like he's going to use it. It might have been just a reflex, expecting a follow-up from M80. M80 usually has players in lockstep. But as we've seen, as this has gone on, they've been playing more like a team of individuals. That might be a concerning sign for them. Memory serves, M80 still has their timeout. I wonder if they call it should they lose this round. Nitro Cell goes up. There's the team kill we talked about. At least the Nitro Cell doesn't go off. You got that, I suppose. Still tucked in the corner is Adrian. He's got coverage now from the clash as Kansan will keep him safe for the time being. Hot and cold all the while standing outside going, guys, I just gotta wait. I just gotta wait, guys. He walks right in. Off goes the head of Adrian, subtracting him from the equation. Kansan's fallen all the way back to blue. Still 45 seconds left. This will feel like an eternity for M80 and their fans. As that breach opened up, Kansan off of the shield, trying to take the engagement directly to Hot and Cold. Gavin felled. He was the target they so desired. And now it'll just be a reflex test that Kansan wins. Tie game! We will need all 12 rounds of regulation for this. Wildcard draws even.
Oh my, Fabian, is this the moment for the TAC timeout? Probably the messiest round we've seen from M80. There it is. Not a hard thing to predict, Parker. They're going to call it after that. Just a really sloppy opening death to come through from Gunnar as he enters the building with no information. Then you've got a bit of a swing from Spiker that doesn't get caught. It's a little bit slow reaction time from M80. And then the team kill is so unfortunate. Obviously trying to shoot that Nitro Cell, unsuccessful in it, but when you're grouping up like that, looking towards the weakest bomb site on Chalet, may I add, you can't be having simple mistakes like that. You can't be giving yourself such a poor start to the round. 7, 8, and 9. We saw the early round go the way of M80. Even though round 9 slipped away from them, it felt like the early game was going for them, but it just feels like similar to the last couple of rounds on the first half. Maybe we're getting a little overconfident. Maybe we're getting a little overexcited. Maybe we're moving a little bit too much too quickly because mistakes are being made from M80 and Wildcard are walking away with rounds because of it. They have clawed back this series after their disaster on map 1. They clawed back the score on map 2 just to force the third. And now on map 3, they play from a disadvantage once again and are finding success once again.
You think we're going to go to overtime, Jesse?
I think it will either be an overtime or it will be a 7-5 win for Wildcard. I cannot imagine they're slowing down at this point. The only question is, do M80 respond with the TAC timeout?
10 seconds left before
They not just call their timeout? Am I blind?
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, can they react to that TAC timeout? Can they bounce back because of the timeout they just took in order to save this game and force that overtime? I don't think Wildcard will be losing these next 2 rounds. They're just playing too well at the moment.
I misunderstood. I apologize. Either way, we have been treated to 2 incredible series so far today. We started the broadcast about 6.5, almost 7 hours ago. You and I have been casting since 5 p.m. Eastern, is now 11:20. So this has been a tremendously long day, about as long as it really could, barring a catastrophic implosion of somebody's computer that would have delayed us even longer.
Knock on wood.
With a 7-1, by the way. Crazy to think. These teams will come to blows very quickly. Diffuser finds his way in. Spiker dies because of it. Baby Shark throws Diffuser out of the building. Scratch that. He might not have actually made it into the building. Might have just been a kill through the window. I mean, technically, I'm correct. His body's not in the building, so at least I'm half right there.
I'll give it to you. I'll give you points.
Thank you. That's really nice of you. Gunnar was surveying the landscape, seeing if somebody else would peek their head through that hole, but nobody will. He'll block off some line of sight with that ROU projector. They have intel. What are the drones doing on the side of M80? I have not seen a lot of droning from this M80 team lately.
Oh, Parker, the information might have been there, but the shots are better for Kansan. They traded out. I mean, they keep things equal 3-3, but it does feel like the guns have just been a little bit better on this Wildcard side as of the last 45 minutes or so. Here comes a flank up from Baby Shark on the solar stairs. Big kill in a hot and cold. Now everything goes his direction. Adrian, another one, and Gavin left in the 1v3. It's crumbling again.
It certainly looks like 3 in a row for Wildcard in these rounds, and it'll push them to series point. An incredible turnaround for this team. They just need to find Gavin, and then the lead is theirs. They led back in round number 1, but that has been it. They have been trailing or now tied with this M80 team. No longer. Wildcard moved to series point.
And it just feels like it's every individual, Parker, that we have been waiting to see pop off from Wildcard. It's Kansan going for these tiny peaks where he hits the head every single time with perfect reaction speed. It's Adrian on these long angles, playing the ACOGs, playing the DMRs, punishing players as they try to get into the building and trading out his teammates. And most impressively of all, it's Baby Shark. It is the kid who has struggled on Wildcard since this stage began, all throughout the group stage. Frankly, through the first half of this series, where he could not seem to win a fight, he could not seem to find his bearings, he could not seem to have an impact on the round for Wildcard. Now we're seeing the old Baby Shark. Now we're seeing that French menace that was so good for this team back during last season. That was the highest rated player on Wildcard through stage 2 of the NAL last year. He has come alive in this series. He has broken the curse that has been following him since this season began. And Parker, it might be the end of M80 if he can do it in one more round.
An absolutely absurd ending awaits us, and it could be with Wildcard putting a impressive punctuation mark on the end of this best of 3, or we go to overtime, which is equally exciting and gives us, at minimum, 2 more rounds after this fateful round 12. It has been a series of streaks on this map. Round 1 went to Wildcard, then 3 in a row for M80, 2 in a row for Wildcard, 2 in a row for M80, 3 in a row for Wildcard. It would be a perfect mirror if M80 wins this round in rounds 1. It'd be fascinating to watch. Just something fun to pick up on. But M80 have really looked like a team that has lost a lot of their confidence, and their guns are not working. Their strategy has not been particularly good. Again, we go back to drones. I have not seen a lot of time spent on drones for this M80 team. Yes, we just saw Gunnar doing it with the Twitch drone. He drones himself in. But the rest of this team is largely just playing off of their gadgetry and intel. But the intel's coming through operators, again, not through drones. This is a tough spot to be in. And a tough spot to be in, speaking of, this Chimney player. On cold, aggressing in this position. He's got Spiker on the run. Nades will go out to dislodge him. It's a hail of bullets. How does Wildcard come out ahead of this gunfight? Adrian there for backup with a nitro cell. Gavin gets 1, but it's Wildcard to come out ahead. They pushed Spiker out of the position, but M80 lost both of their shields in the process.
Big fight from Gunnar, equalizes the numbers. They're still in this fight. They just need to pull out their guns and take this map control. Top floor is now under theirs, Parker. They've got control above the bomb site. Diffuser was dropped by Hot and Cold. He was trying to make that space. It will have to be recovered, but they're playing with the vert so perfectly. Diffuser gets the angle on to Adrian. It leaves just the 2 best players on Wildcard, Baby Shark and Kansan, to try to clutch this up in the 2v3. So much time on the clock though, Parker. So much map control. Such good guns as well on the side of M80. Somebody on Wildcard has to make a move in order to get an advantage. If they just sit in sight, I can't see them winning this.
I mean, you've got Kansan needing time to be bought as he's now going for a flank. They've got 2 sets of eyes on the side of M80 watching this. The 2 best players on Wildcard are the last 2 remaining. That's a good thing to hang your hopes on. But Kansan's as good as dead here, right? Yep. They sweep through the last 2. We go all the way. Overtime, Jesse, on the board.
How else could a series like this end? These two have been neck and neck ever since about the halfway point in Cafe, and it has not gotten any easier to determine who will be the victor. We saw the lineup coming into it, right? It was Finka, Blitz, Monty. You had everything, the Lion as well, to try to surprise those top floor players, to explode into the top floor. And whilst it got messy, while the strat that they were cooking up made a disaster of the kitchen, it ends up being a delicious dish that serves them overtime here on Chalet. 2 rounds separate both teams now from a spot against Dark Zero, deeper into the upper bracket. But Parker, I could not tell you who's likely to come out on top here.
I have no idea what the hell's going on at this point in time, Jesse. I have stopped trying to make predictions. I'm not a prognosticator. I'm not guessing here. I'm just along for the ride at this point, and I think for good reason. These 2 teams have shown that they both deserve to win, and yet only one will ultimately succeed. This is where we said the better team ultimately might not win. Take a look at the scoreline right now, right? M80 blows out Wildcard on Wildcard's map. Wildcard squeezes out a victory on M80's map. And now this could end up going all 15 rounds with one of these teams ultimately winning by one. If it's Wildcard that ultimately wins this, you will look at the score sheet and say, well, M80 won 7-1, and then Wildcard won 8-6 and say 8-7. How can you say Wildcard's the better team? On paper, maybe you'd argue that M80 was the better team, just based on those rounds alone. And people would be salty and the M80 fans would be upset, and I don't think that would be unjustified. But you gotta win your maps. Congratulations, you won more rounds. That's great. Wildcard are proving that when the competition is the toughest and the stakes are the highest, they can elevate themselves to that. They did it on Cafe. It seemed unlikely they'd be able to do it again on Chalet, and yet here we are. Granted, it's M80 now who are on the comeback, so can they pull it off? Wildcard defending first. Still discovery phase for M80. Doing some more drone work than we've seen through a lot of the other rounds. This is something that's very good. It obviously aided them in the previous round won by M80.
Big game moments call for big game players, and it's hard to argue anyone on the server doesn't fit that description, Parker. They have so much experience at international events, whether it's Adrian winning EWC and making it to the grand finals of SI, or whether it's most of M80 lifting a major trophy not once but twice. These players know what it takes to battle through these very long nights and these difficult matches. On the top floor, they're going to have to hold things down on the side of Wildcard. Ashen starting to close in, hot and cold with the Capital bolts, but it's Gavin who strikes first on Adrian.
Wildcard answers back with a brisk two-piece. This seems to be a tough spot for Baby Shark. He was fighting his own demons. M80 now have reduced Wildcard to just Spiker. Kansan might be retrievable, but I don't think that'll be the focus for the captain of Wildcard. They're posted up, watching his position. 3 players from M80. Will they be able to get to him? Yes, they read him so perfectly. The rotate from Spiker was smart, but M80 were ready for it. They moved to series point now. They've just been passing this baton around. We are reaching the end of this race, and it is currently M80 by a hair, but a photo finish still awaits us. At least one more round here in OT.
It's a gut punch of a round, Parker. They were up in a 4v3 advantage at one point during that push, but M80's trade game is so fantastic. Players all around the top floor, whether it was the push in through Piano from Diffuser and Ashen, whether it was players over on the solar and bathroom window like Diffuser, whether it was hot and cold on the big window, every angle that you can think of surrounding that top floor roam clear was being held by M80. So wherever Wildcard tried to walk, they were walking into a crosshair. M80 played so perfectly, so together in that round to be able to force those kills and work themselves into an advantage. They beautifully get that done and now have earned 2 opportunities to move on in this bracket to avoid the lower bracket for a few more days. Wildcard, how do you recover from a moment like that? How do you get back in this game mentally? They've got to find some way. The attack on Chalet historically has been the better side. I think these teams, obviously, there have been moments back and forth, but have both shown very strong pushes, very strong attacks. Wildcard will have to remember how good their attacks can be going into their final one here on Chalet.
An unbelievable series that is now starting to find its conclusion. I almost want it to keep going just from a pure entertainment standpoint, but alas, there has to be an end. All good things come to an end, and this has been good and potentially a great matchup. Wildcard have to win this to stay in the fight, or else everything would be for naught. The heroics in map 2, the dominance here on their run halfway through this Chalet would be up in smoke, and M80 would basically be like, why did you make us work this hard for it when the end result looked like it was going to happen midway through Cafe? A spirited effort from Wildcard, even if they do lose. This team will have to face off against Shopify Rebellion. And let me tell you, watching this series, I don't think SR is really eager to play either of these teams, Jesse, and yet they will need to. The winner goes up against Dark Zero in a matchup where the victor of that goes to Salt Lake City. So a major spot will be on the line, just not today. 1 minute off the clock. Wildcard hanging on for dear hope. They almost missed all those shots, but he still gets the opening pick, and it is a sigh of relief across the bench. A wild card. They lose Diffuser, so hold on a second. Action happening very quickly here.
The information advantage for the attackers once again, Parker, that's able to work them into this two-man lead. It puts all the weight onto the shoulders of these last three players. Gavin up inside of library is kind of the key focal point too. Can he even move? As long as these players are watching his windows, they're holding him dead to rights. There is a player just outside on his balcony. He's got Ashen not too far away over towards the blue stairs. Adrian holds this though and will start to toss in some flashbangs, hoping to force movements, hoping to get some space, and Bay capitalizes, killing the anchor.
This is going so well for Wildcard. These attackers are just dominating in a flawless round, sending us all the way the 15th and final round of a best of three, a single round shootout, 3 minutes to determine which team moves on. And you know what, Jesse? This is the best birthday gift I ever could have gotten you, and in 28 minutes here on the East Coast, it's Laxing's birthday too. So celebrate hard. One of these teams will be heartbroken. We'll find out which one in 3 minutes.
It's going to be a brutal turnaround too, Parker. You lose this series, you've got to play lower bracket tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken, on the schedule. So you've got a lot to think about if you lose this game and have to put your head on the pillow tonight. It's getting late even here in North America, but they can't focus on that now. Wildcard will choose to go to the basement. Most teams don't touch this site with a 3-foot pole, Parker. This is the one bomb site where it is always avoided on Chalet, despite how it gets played in ranked. Pro teams don't like this bomb site. It's just too easy for the attackers to try to breach in, work a pick. If they get top floor control, it can be absolutely devastating, but frankly, the last time they went here, it was a masterclass. I mean, M80, a calamity of errors as well. It was an opening death from Gunner. It was a team kill over towards the snow stairs. It was disasters all around, and Wildcard hoping to force more of that magic. It's a failed spawn peek from Baby Shark that kind of sets the pace for this final round. Who will be the one to strike first?
Could you imagine if he'd gotten that spawn peek and completely deflated M80?
Oh,
I mean, we've seen pretty much everything in this match so far, and it is about to come to a screaming halt. Wildcard now defending in overtime so far. The attackers are 2 for 0, so M80 in much better shape because of that, riding out the better side here in OT. But again, in overtime, the script tends to get flipped. Do you flip the script again in OT when the script is already in overtime and you flip that script? I don't think it goes that deep.
Well,
either way.
Since that spawn peek, Parker, they're really worried about the top floor. You want to see more droning. We're seeing tons of it now, but there's nobody to find. Despite that early aggression, Wildcard have now all fallen back down to the basement, and M80, the longer it takes them to figure this out, the tougher their final push is going to be.
This is really something else. M80 being as patient as ever. Both of these teams have been very, very quick so far through this series. The tempo breakneck at times. But as we see with so many teams, when it gets this deep into the ball game, they slow down. They pay a lot of respect for their opponents. They make sure that every move they make is as important as it can be. One small misstep and you might have just cost yourself the round. This is a similar spot for Adrian now, surviving with half of his HP after damning Gavin to the next minute and a half of watching his team's fate from the sidelines. Gavin, the highest flying performer, and he is no more. His gadget's at least done some work here. 1 minute to go in the final round of this matchup.
Yeah, before he died, he shot off the bandit battery, and that could be good enough, but not if Adrian keeps this up. A nitro cell tossed out as well. It doesn't get a kill, but the guns are alive. 3 kills for Adrian. He has completely turned this game on its head.
He gets out-dueled by Ashen, still watching amidst the smoke as Hot and Cold pulls off the defuse kit, but dies in the process. The newest member of M80 will have to contend against the 4 original members of Wildcard. He'll have to watch the library window. He'll have to watch over top of garage. He'll have to watch the opening. Clash gets on the defuse kit. There's no way for Ashen to respond to this. He gets dropped, resigned as he loses it, and Wildcard win a wild best 6-3. They move forward in the brackets one more step close to a Salt Lake City major spot.